Welcome back to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan.
We got EJ on the line with Nerd Jock.
We do indeed. Let's jump into it now, my friend. Now.
Jock.
Nerds.
Jock.
Nerds.
Jock.
Nerds.
Jock, nerd, jock, nerd.
Jock.
It is Nerd Jock with EJ. How you doing, EJ?
What's going on, guys? I'm glad you guys weren't on last week because I bombed really bad at Harry Buffalo.
Oh,
2
really?
weeks ago.
Yeah,
it was really bad.
I saw a post from you, and look, man, we get in here and we play rough, and we knock each other around. But you said you had bombed, and I was sad for you because you seemed like legitimately like the wind was out of the sails.
Oh yeah, it really hurts, especially because you have that outlet and then you fail at that outlet, and it made me feel really bad. But at the same time, the bombs make when you kill so much better. Though.
See, this is what I would say is that you didn't fail because anytime you're actually there executing what you'd planned out to do, good or bad, that is part of the process of getting better at comedy. There's
reps.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
reason that guys like, even like John Witherspoon, who, God bless him, would come in here. He'd say there's always more to learn, So, yeah, you're being too hard on yourself, but I understand what you mean.
Well, then I agree with Chappelle. I get paid for the attempt when he messes up,
Yeah.
which I kind of like as well.
Yeah.
Do you
that's
get paid, though, EJ?
Yeah, no.
No, I don't.
And I think part of your problem is comparing yourself to Chappelle.
Chappelle, oh yeah.
But no,
it's a
I
lofty
don't
goal, for
want to
sure.
be mean. I'm just saying, like when I come in here and do this, I keep the expectations low.
Yeah, your motto should be good or bad.
I'm here.
It's
That's good.
Yeah.
These two together collectively, Sam and Tom, are literally
Really mean tag team.
No, if you need a
No.
catchphrase for your business that's true and accurate, they will get you. They will get. There's a reason that she wrote "Burn Them Pests."
Yeah.
What are the other ones? Sam, you have
I
a
don't
litany
know,
of
man.
them. Tom's really good.
Tom's only catchphase is "Tell me now."
Tell me why.
No, it's tell me why or why do you like that?
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna go all for nothing, but I'm still here.
Which is
all for
also
nothing.
the first hit of your negativity boy band.
Hotel.
All for nothing.
I'm waiting for the Swervy Jones where it's in sync with Tom singing these songs.
It's Backstreet Boys.
We can do that.
So, what do we got first, EJ?
Should we start off with sports?
Sure.
Okay, I sent a video to Sam. Have you guys saw the video yet of haha Clinton Dix?
We haven't watched it yet, but I did send it to him.
We have not
man.
watched it, but I have it ready to go. Is there sound with this?
I don't think there's any audio. It's
Okay.
it's basically a security camera
Yeah, it looks
from
like
his
security.
house, and he has one of those like houses where it has a carport that's open, and he's riding a scooter towards his backyard. It looks like. And there's a bear and a cub coming the other way, and he doesn't see it because they're behind his car.
Yeah, well, I have the video ready to go.
Oh.
What's funny about Haha's house is that it is huge. It looks like
Where
a
does he
shopping mall.
live?
Oh yeah.
He lives in Florida. I think
Oh,
he lives
okay.
down by Miami. I think. He
Okay,
does.
here we go. We're gonna. I'm playing the video for the guys so they can kind of see. Okay, here comes
See the bear and the
the
cub.
bear and the cub, and they're just kind of meandering. And then here comes the funny part. Wait for it.
This looks like a Home Depot, by the way.
Yeah, no, yeah,
It's
yeah.
huge. I mean, that's not a normal person's house.
They all these sports stars, they live in Florida. They're for
Compounds.
tax.
Yeah, tax.
Yeah,
Look at him
Yeah.
scooting up.
Whoa! And then he ditches that scooter and scares the hell out of the bears.
Aw, he
Well,
was
they
just-
interviewed him after, and he ended up jumping on the truck after that.
Good
'Cause
call.
you don't see it because it cuts off before that, but he talked to like ESPN and said he jumped on the truck after that, and the lady's like, bears climb trees. They can get up on that truck too.
Well,
Yeah, but I mean,
black bears.
yeah.
It's Florida black bears. I mean, they get in everybody's trash. They're big raccoons here.
Yeah.
They're not gonna attack anybody.
Yeah,
At
they were
least-
terrified of that scooter.
At least
Yeah.
he could have, like, I would get elevated too. I'm not just gonna.
Yeah, I would do the same thing.
Plus, you're
Like,
panicking.
Yeah, especially because it's a mother bear and a cub.
Yeah,
That's the
wh-
worst scenario.
Like, what choices do you have? Yeah,
That is,
yeah.
I guess if you were, although we've talked about this so many times, especially like when they did black bear hunting season, and then people were mad about it, and the other people were like, well, there's too many bears around here, and they're dangerous. And then we looked up the stats, and it turns out like
they don't
there-
really do much.
There's like
I think there's been one attack.
There's like a couple bear, like black bear attack, and we say
but they're
attacks.
gray area attacks, yeah.
Yeah, it's like they've been like one was like diseased by a dumpster and it like swatted a lady. You know what I'm saying? There's like it just doesn't happen. Now grizzly bears, they'll straight up kill you and eat you alive.
Unless you're
Hold you down and eat your
well,
intestines
unless
alive.
you are a young, not afraid at all Italian boy walking through the mountains. apparently, if you're a young Italian boy, just meandering through the mountains with your papa, coming home for a nice, yes, this is a stereotype, but coming home for a nice pasta dinner, the grizzly will not do anything to you. In fact, he'll just follow you
He wants some
daintily.
pasta too.
Although even
Who
though
doesn't want fresh Italian
Right?
pasta? Oh my God!
even
Give me some.
though with the black bear, like they're just gonna run away, 99% of the time. Still scary to come around your car on this electric scooter and see one straight there. I mean, it was only what 5 feet away
10
from
feet
it.
at most.
Well, he would have ridden right
Shocking.
into it, which would have been a way better video.
Yeah.
Now, if you would have fallen on it, like
that could have happened.
or the cub, it may
Coulda
attack
happened.
you.
Oh,
And
dude.
he's good on his feet, clearly
Could've-
because he's an athlete.
could've been.
One of us
It-
would have
it-
ran into that bear.
I honestly believe it would have, and I think that's kind of what you were talking about earlier. Is that like these black bear attacks that we've even had here? I wanna say that it has a little bit more to do. Like if I'm riding a scooter and fall on the cub, and then the mom beats me up,
Right.
that counts as an attack.
Yeah.
And it
Also,
shouldn't.
shows you the danger of electric scooters
Yes,
nowadays.
there's bears everywhere,
If
guys.
this was a two-stroke scooter, that thing would have been scared away for
Correct.
around the back of the house. It would have hurt
Too
it.
quiet. Go big oil.
Because look, he was.
He ghost rides it too.
I mean, because bears are skittish. I mean, if they heard anything, they would have took off. They
Bears
didn't hear
have
'em.
very, very high anxiety.
That looks like a small razor scooter.
I think it's one of those electric ones.
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
an electric
okay.
razor
like the ones
scooter.
they rent around here.
Yeah.
Here, I'll go back to it and
And
play
in
it.
fact, I bet if he was walking, the bears would have heard him and run away. The fact that he was on that electric scooter, like they didn't hear him coming. Like
Is Tom against electric scooters now?
I'm just saying,
No fun, guys.
they're a hazard to public safety.
Couple things.
Old man complains about quiet
Old
spots.
man, no fun.
I agree with that. Look, there's a reason that 99% of the Florida population have a sticker in their car that says "Loud pipes save lives."
You know how many?
Oh yeah, loud pipes save lives. Tom is right on that. Another thing, in Russia had this happen. When he ditched the scooter, the bear would have just jumped on the scooter and ridden away. Because they train their bears
That's
on
right.
scooters in Russia.
You're gonna nail its paws to the pedal.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
then
that's
eats a
only the
monkey, too.
that's only the sacrificial bear. The rest of them learn real quick.
You know how many elite NFL players are going to be killed on electric scooters by bears this year? There's going to be an epidemic.
Well, there you could make an
Also high.
argument. You could make an argument if you reach into the big bag of accidents. There have been a lot of accidents with NFL players with guns and fireworks and scooters and four-wheelers. They are not allowed to have toys
Yeah.
because
And
they're children.
do you think that Ha could have juked the Bears? I mean, he's an elite
Absolutely.
safety.
No,
like,
Absolutely.
Bears are fast,
I
dude.
I don't know. I mean,
No, he
have
would've
you seen
40
him?
miles an hour. There's no way he's
No,
gonna have
but
to,
the
like,
bear
juke
would have
and outrun him.
the bear would have been caught off guard. If the bear has, full pads and is working out, sure.
Yeah. I mean,
But I think catching the bear off guard, he's got the edge because he knows how to maneuver like that.
yeah. I mean, this guy's covering Julio Jones. He's covering the most
Some
elite
call
receiver.
Julio the bear of the skies.
Yeah. I don't even know if they play each other.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't know anything we're talking about. Lots of misinformation.
Next story, EJ.
Oh, the next one. Well, since we're going with animals, let's talk about Jay Cutler and his search for his serial killer.
Yeah, I saw some BDM
Have you
put the
seen the
story.
Instagram about it?
No, I didn't read the story. The only thing I know about Jay Cutler is he's an extreme D head, which makes me like him just because I can't believe how much of a D head he is. But
He
apparently,
lives on a farm and he's hunting for the things that's killing his chickens. And he's had a whole Instagram story about figuring out what's killing his chickens. He can't figure out if it's a fox or a wolf or a ferret. He doesn't know.
A ferret.
so he
They kill chickens.
he is he's basically turned to social media.
Oh, they're
and,
mocking him now.
and
Oh, man.
I don't think I bet you he doesn't even read this. Like I think he's
off in his own little chicken world, right?
Yeah. I think he was an NFL D head, and then now he's retired, and he's just in some probably huge
farm in upstate Illinois.
Yeah. I mean,
I have a picture of, I guess, his.
Because the thing is, if you want to live in undesirable locations, you could just get a ridiculous amount of land and a huge mansion for next to nothing as far as in millionaire terms. You know, like for what he bought this probably farm and land and where he did. I mean, it would be a waste. It would be a tiny house in L.A.
You didn't read any of his Instagram stories? I mean,
No,
he's
no.
the ramblings of an insane person.
Yes.
I guess he accused his cat originally of killing
Oh, man.
the chickens, and I'll read from this last post. This was, I think, a couple of days ago. To the cat. While I'm not sorry you were accused of these vicious acts, I will be the bigger person and admit I was wrong. You are not the suspect we are looking for. Take it as a compliment for your savage ways of life. Carry on, cat.
I think he's
Is
just.
he being funny?
Yeah,
I think he is.
He's
I think
just,
he
he's
is being
effing
funny.
around. Yeah.
Like otherwise, he
If he's
is
not
insane.
being funny, he's an insane person.
Yeah.
I think it's just like a dry sense of humor D-head, and he just, messing around.
Oh, God, he's got
nothing to do.
more. Now he's doing official, like he's got the Christensen Arms, which I'm guessing is a weapon company, like a factory weapon company. Like, that's real big right now. And he's got like, you can vote to see, is it a fox, a coyote, a raccoon, a weasel, an owl, or other, meaning cheetah, chupacabra, Bigfoot, or Carol Baskin. Yeah, he's doing jokes.
Yeah. Oh, well, he bought like one of those trail cameras where it takes pictures whenever there's motion,
Yeah.
and that's what he's trying to figure out what it was.
So basically, Jay Cutler just lives on this farm, and
He has nothing better to do than Instagram
and is going crazy.
and
Yeah.
chickens.
Breaking news, the BDM prisoner that I believe is getting out of jail today, he says he's at the bus terminal, and News Channel 13 is trying to interview him.
Oh, really?
Sir,
Really?
sir,
Yell
what,
out Tom and Dan.
sir, what is it like being in jail and not really being in jail and listening to Tom and Dan and doing everything that everybody else does, but you claim to be in jail? Please, we'd like comment.
What are they trying to interview him for?
Probably
know.
asking him what it's like in
Like
prison with COVID.
What's in
Yeah.
there?
Oh, yeah. He's been like, I've been out every day.
Shout out a mediocre time at some point.
Yeah.
I've been-
I don't know. I don't know what you were in jail
I don't
for.
know what
That's
you're
true.
gonna say, yeah.
That's right, medium prisoner. You've never told us what your
Yeah,
charges
we
were,
don't know
sir.
what you're in for.
We kind of didn't ask you about it. 'cause
Don't ask,
we,
don't tell.
Yeah,
Oh, it's
we,
gone bad a couple of times.
We were afraid to know the answer. We'd rather just not know.
Oh, no, they're
Let's
interviewing
live in
him.
ignorance.
They want to interview him because the buses are opening back up.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
okay.
more lame.
You there, non-pedophile. Why do you ride the bus?
It's like, wait.
Call.
Stay.
You jump to the conclusions.
Don't do that.
What made you think that? Was it this backpack of children's toys and books I have?
They gave it back to me.
Yeah. And it has
After I
a small sign on it that says bait.
I'm calling Tom and Dan. No.
No, don't call
Don't.
Tom and Dan. You were never here. Going up the road to Maitland. Find the radio
All right, should we
station.
think about the next story?
Yeah.
Well, remember that taping that the Patriots did of the Bengals when they were doing
Yes.
calls?
Yes.
They got fined $1 million for that.
Oh, so they finally ended up, deciding what they were going to do with the whole tape game.
And I think they lost a third-round draft pick as well.
Oh, okay.
So,
That'll
yeah.
stop them.
No, it's slap on the wrist for the Patriots.
There it is.
Oh, yeah, so $1 million
Yeah.
for Robert Kraft, who billion, like literally.
He'll spend that at a massage parlor.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing happened of that.
And
the
then-
guy's literally untouchable.
And then some third round pick, Bill Belichick, because he knows it's.
He'll trade that away anyways.
Yeah. It doesn't even matter.
Well, the other thing we got to talk about is Cam Newton signed with him.
Yeah.
Tom and I were
He,
talking.
he took it for minimum salary though. Like he's getting like $1 million, but like 7.5 with incentives.
Yes.
Which
is
hey,
legal.
that's a good deal for the Patriots.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Tom and I were talking about this morning.
I've listened to some people talk about this, and obviously you've got the I call it like mainstream sports media hype, where they tell everybody wants to make a story out of it, and and be like, oh, Patriots fans get excited, Cam Newton's, and then you got the realists and the guys, the analytics guys, and
Yeah.
the gambling guys who are like, well. Nobody else wanted him. So why is that? Why is it like? And obviously Bill Belichick got him cheap, and they all agree like, yeah, it's good for league minimum at $1 million, and then obviously if he overachieves, you pay him the full $7.
Yeah,
but
without
like
a doubt.
they categorized his level of pay, and like he's in the same level as like the Fitzpatricks and the like a couple other backup. I think Marcus Mariota, and who's going to be a backup. And then you're like, so how good is Cam Newton as a prospect to?
You would have thought he would have already started.
Yeah, but
Well, he doesn't have value as a backup quarterback. Because think about it, if he's on your bench, he's kind of a distraction for your starting quarterback. Because anytime he throws an interception, Cam Newton, put him in, because even though we're getting league minimum, he was MVP 4 years ago.
you're talking about Bill Belichick. He doesn't get distracted by stupid what the fans want. What I think,
I don't know. This will be the season he might get distracted because Tom Brady's gone, and not re-signing him might have been a bad decision. This might be the topple though.
Bill Belichick is an NFL computer.
Yeah,
he doesn't.
I think
nothing.
he'll be okay. Yeah.
What I believe, and I'm not an expert at all, and I didn't read this or
I
anything.
didn't
But
take it as a starter, did you? I took
No.
it as just like I took it as him being a good businessman, knowing the value of a legendary, like Cam Newton's no matter how you want to cut it, he's a super athlete.
yeah, the season's already planned out. He's not going to be. I don't think he'll be a start. If he was going to be if Bill Belichick wanted Cam Newton as a starter, he would
Who's
have been
starting then?
Oh, he's starting. No
Stidham.
way.
Stidham.
They're starting that other guy.
Stedham.
Yeah, Stedham. They're not starting him. They're putting Cam Newton in for sure. Dude, the only reason why he didn't play last season because he was hurt, because his shoulder was messed up.
You're not going to start Cam Newton in a brand new
Yeah,
system
I
and have him
haven't
learn.
heard anything about that.
No, I'll bet you right now. What do you want to
All
bet?
right,
Oh,
yeah.
all right, now we're getting down to
Money on the
brass tacks.
table. Money on the table.
I
This
bet-
is, this is one of the only times that Tom and I
you
are
start paying
reading
me
the
for
same
bit,
things
and then
too.
if not, you don't pay me for the bet.
I'll give you minus 200 or plus 200 odds on
Opening day?
Cam Newton starts week 1.
Ooh.
I bet he doesn't. If you bet he does, I'll give you $200 for your 100.
Wow.
So you bet $100.
So if I put $1 down, I get what?
you'll get $2, and I'll win $1 if I win.
But put 1,000 down, and if if you win, we'll buy your fence.
Ooh.
Right?
My fence is
How-
$6,500. I got it quoted for.
Hey,
Uh,
I said we'd buy it.
I like Belichick's going to be like, let's get this guy who's never played with us during
Who was
COVID,
injured. Who was injured.
who we have limited practice time, who doesn't know the system, to start week 1 instead of the guy that's been a backup and been in our system for a
Been
long
wor-
and
he's
knows
been
it.
working at it, yeah.
That'll
I disagree.
that'll
I
make-
don't think so. I think
That's what a
he's
football
too
computer
good
does.
A player to be not starting.
I can see that too.
Belichick will put him in on 4th and 3s, 4th and 4s, because he could run the ball, and it'll be an
A Tim
option.
Tebow scenario.
Yeah, and then if Stedham gets hurt, then he'll be
Then they
forced
have
to play.
a
But
good guy, yeah.
everybody who's been to Belichick's system says it's hard to learn and it takes a while.
Yeah.
And even really, really smart football guys tell you it's hard to learn. So it's one of these things that they got him for cheap. Why not have Cam Newton on your team? Put him in for 4th and 4 in certain situations. Let him learn, if he could do some things, and who knows,
who knows
if he
what'll happen,
earns,
right.
if he starts doing better than expected, maybe. They put him in as a starter. Stedham is doing bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Later on down the line,
Cool
they'll never
story.
start him week
It's
1.
a great story, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it'll be fun to watch.
It's exciting,
Yeah.
but the fact is that no one paid him, and they got him for so cheap. It means that everybody knows something. We're all we all sit back as full fans, and then we're like, why didn't they get Of course, Cam Newton's awesome, but there's a reason that he's getting paid so little, and nobody else
Well,
wanted
I
him.
still go back to what I said weeks ago. I don't
Yeah.
think Cam cares about football anymore.
I think he cares. I just don't know. They obviously, all these professionals see something that we don't see. We are all remembering the Cam Newton when he almost went for the undefeated season, but that could have been an anomaly. I hear gambling professionals talk about he's really not that good, and he may be injured or have a long-term injury. It was apparent in the Panthers last year like at the beginning of the year, is playing horrible. It looked like he was injured. He just could be damaged goods.
What else you got?
Well, that's all I have for sports. But should we move on to nerd stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, I could talk about the baseball. We didn't talk about it last week. Like the 60 games. But
yeah, they ended up.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not as. Yeah, it just seemed like it was like, hold on, not happening. And there's like, here we are, everything's great. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
that and the basketball starting like the end of July.
Yeah, but some players are opting out. Some
Yeah.
players are saying, "Well, I'm not going to go
And that's
play."
with every sport's happening in MLS too.
Yeah, and for a variety of different reasons. One of them being is that they have to basically. I'm not sure if it's mandated, but it's definitely mandated. If you have anybody in your family, you don't want to expose, like that. You stay away from everybody in they call it like the bubble for X amount of time to be safe. Like, and then everybody within the bubble. But people have like blown holes through all this. It's like. It's nearly impossible to be in some sort of lab environment, because they're talking about the employees at Disney World, like they're still going to go home and then go back.
They still
and
do stuff too.
And so
Go
like
to the store.
so you can't keep them in the bubble. So then
Everything would have to be controlled and delivered. And
it's going to be the best possible scenario, but not 100%. It's never going to be 100%. And then
it's not now.
So, so then you always run the risk of someone testing positive, and then what do you do? It's like, okay, well, this player tested positive. Who was he in contact with? He was in contact with these 5 players. So who are they in contact with? It's like it seems to me a gigantic mess to try to, unless they're real loose about it. And they're just like, yeah, we're gonna try.
I don't know. I think I think we live in a time when the microscope's on you, so you don't have the luxury of telling. You can't do lip service.
So
because I think people will investigate it, and because everybody wants to be some sort of whistleblower and blow the top off of something, even if it's like
So like what I'm saying is like, all right, say you got a waitress that's serving food at a restaurant that the players are eating at, right? You find out that
Qdoba too.
Yeah, that waitress in Disney World, she gets.
See, but I think it's going to be all in house. I don't think they're going to be going off Disney property.
No, but in Disney property, but those waitresses, they go home and they're not like stuck there too.
No, he's saying if you keep looking at the spider web,
so like say some waitress tests positive at a Disney
like the
resort,
lodge,
and then
Animal Kingdom Lodge.
So then she
not true, by the way. I'm just saying.
No,
hypothetical.
This is hypothetical.
Let's start spreading misinformation.
No, I don't do that.
So then the waitress tests positive. So then they're like, oh well, who was
there?
She was serving dinner to these 20 players from different teams. And then it's like, okay, then they talked to these players. Like how? Like,
they played cards with the Denver Nuggets or whatever.
Are you going to start Outback tracing? Outback.
No.
Outbreak.
Drop that blooming onion. It's contaminated.
I was mad at you now for sure.
Are you going to start outbreak tracing it? Like, and then it's like, okay, everybody now, all those people are off the team and bringing backups. Like,
serious question though for you.
Yeah.
What's your opinion of Outback's bread, the brown bread? That they
It's
put
fine.
the jumbo knife in.
It's sweet. It's got a sweet flavor. To
I
it.
I agree.
Sweet wheat.
Here's a hot tip if you're there. Get the Caesar salad, extra croutons, and then use that bread to sop up the extra Caesar dressing if you don't have enough saturated fat in your heart.
So, what do we have
Sounds
to take
good.
a break?
Not really.
Okay. What do
I'm
you
not
want to
even
go to
recording,
nerd?
so you can go as long as you want.
Should we go to nerd stuff?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well, we got to talk about the Splash Mountain for Samantha because they're going to redesign it
Yeah.
and do Princess and the Frog, which it's long overdue. They should have done it
Yeah,
years ago.
Years ago. I am pro, like, whenever a theme park says, hey, we want to update a ride, I'm like, okay. Because, like, I don't know. I like the nostalgia aspect of it, but I also like the idea of theme parks not getting, like, run down and rough looking. You know, like when Hulk Coaster finally got its revamp at Universal Studios, I was like, damn, that thing's looking rough. You know what I mean? Like,
I didn't see that much of a difference in the whole remake.
God, all the
Looks
uniform,
kind of the same.
the employees'
The
uniforms.
launch port is different for sure.
Yeah, but all the uniforms that the employees had on, like those, you could only wash your Hulk purple pants so many times before they.
Well, you got to get them new purple pants.
They didn't. I mean, they fuzzies
That's on
all
Universal.
over them. Yeah, it's just like, come on, man, step it up.
Also, you start dating yourself when you have old
Yeah.
like movie rides, and then like even with like E.T.
Yeah,
Like-
like E.T.
I love E.T. 'cause
E.T.
It's so
still, I love
weird.
E.T.
Yeah,
It's
but-
fun to go
But do
there.
you love it because it's a good ride, or do you love it because of the nostalgia based
I never
around
watched it as a
Taking
kid.
my
I've never
kids on, I
watched
love it
E.T.
'cause-
I've never been on that ride where it worked.
I can imagine.
The thing
See,
at the
I
end.
have. I think it's such a weird ride. That's why. Like, I've never even watched the movie.
The thing at the end where they say your name was always broken.
Yeah, it's not even that
Oh
good.
no, you gotta say Taco. Taco you can use as one of your names.
But it's I can imagine kids nowadays, they ride that and they're like, who is this scary ass doo-doo monster? Like they don't even know what it is.
I love the poop emoji ride.
Yeah.
Oh, the ragdoll one is even more scary in that ride than E.T.
Like what is this garbage? Like I can imagine younger kids not, because I'd say that if
In the movie,
I was riding something that my parents grew up with,
In the movie E.T., he does look like an alcoholic poop monster because he's a little like
yeah, he's terrifying.
Yeah.
he's
Dehydrated.
crinkly.
Oh.
Yeah, he's
He
dehydrated.
does drink though. He gets the
Drunk.
kid drunk
Yeah,
because he
but-
drinks beer, and the kid is at school and he's drunk too. 'cause
Did they
have
have
that
to-
connection?
Did they have to hire a makeup artist to go and then go, all right, cut. All right, now we're doing the scene where he gets sick because he's on our planet.
Where he looks like a
Go
white
in
turd.
there and rub some powder on this turd.
Yeah.
Is that what they did?
Mm-hmm.
I think I watched that movie when I was way too young because I think I got scared of that movie.
I was scared of the part where all the
when
Visqueen's
did it
up in
come
the
out?
house.
82?
and the spaceman
83?
come. With
Yeah.
the astronaut suits.
Yeah, when the astronauts come into the house, like that part, I swear to God, I think I lost. I think I
1982,
passed out,
yeah.
blacked
Yeah.
out.
I
as a
did
kid.
watch. I forgot I blacked it out. I watched it last year, and then I crapped all over it on my podcast.
bad.
It's not a good. It's not a good movie.
Yeah. I was born in '82, so I know my mom must have just let me watch it at like 4 or 3.
There were no rules in the Van household.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I wouldn't show. I mean, Tommy and Max have 6 and 5, and it's too scary for them. Like Max would freak out.
Yeah, I let Maisie watch the Thriller video, and I put this on the Friday Free Show thing, and she thought it was boring,
Yeah.
Oh,
not cool, and not scary. She's like, "This is dumb." She's unfazable.
what else we got?
Jurassic 3 is coming out. Jurassic World Dominion, and they're gonna bring back like all the characters, and they're even bringing back Dodgson.
Dodson.
You know that meme where everyone's like, "We got Dodgson here, Dodgson." See, nobody cares.
Is that
He's
wh-
even going to be in it.
Is it Dodson or Dobson?
Dodge, Dodgson.
Dodgson? I think that's
You're
what
wrong,
Tuttle
Mike.
was making fun of.
But we changed it to Dobson.
No,
Yeah,
I don't think so.
No? Oh, okay.
I think it was the Downton Abbey thing.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That makes more
Yeah,
sense because
yeah.
he's a
Because I read
butler.
the books back in the day. Like
Yeah.
when we went to the Bahamas, I read the Jurassic Park before the movie came out.
So what's the premise of this? I mean, they've done.
Well, it's supposed to be like the dinosaurs rule the Earth now. So it's
I didn't-
basically like Planet of the Apes, but with dinosaurs.
I didn't catch the last one, so
The last one, that's kind of how it ended.
All
where-
I saw was that he was on a
Spoilers.
motorcycle, and the motorcycle slid under a truck or something. And I was like, all right, don't need to see that.
Well, okay, let's talk about this because. All right, in Planet of the Apes, it's post-apocalyptic. It's like after like something happened, and then so now it's on an even playing field because you got the apes with guns and then humans with guns, and they're fighting very just guns on guns. But if dinosaurs, even if you released
They can't hold-
100
they can't hold
T-Rexes,
guns.
well, we'd be able to have our military jets and tanks like. A
Just
T-Rex
blow them apart.
couldn't do anything to a tank.
No.
You would just
No,
I
one
mean, you
missile-
could 50 cal incinerate
Oh, you
them.
wouldn't need to. One missile, and his guts would just
Yeah.
blow all over the cities.
An A-10 warthog would just and then
just-
just incinerate
Well, hold on.
any
let's,
dinosaur.
Let's think this out.
Right?
You don't want to use the missiles. I think you're onto something. You want a bunch of A-10 warthogs. You just want to pop their feet off.
Yeah.
So they just lay there, and then you want to harvest the
Yeah,
meat.
even with a 50 cal mounted on a Humvee, you'd be able to 50 cal any dinosaur to death.
I think
right?
a couple rednecks out there with
So-
some pyrospot fireworks could
Yeah.
do some damage on some dinosaurs.
Yeah. It's not that probable
They're
of
still
a scenario,
flesh, right?
Like, why are they taking over the Earth? There's so many armies.
I don't know. It's a movie. And plus, they're gonna be one of the first
Are
ones
there
refilming
defense-
You nerds
after
wanna-
the coronavirus.
Hold on, you nerds are the most specific when you want to analyze a movie about what's realistic.
then
Well,
Tom
I'm trying
does
to do
it,
it.
and you crap all over
Yeah, you're
Tom.
like
Yeah.
just suspend your belief.
It's not fair if you don't let him do it too. Don't you
Disbelief.
want Tom to play with you guys? Not against
No,
you guys?
we
Tom
love
never
He's still
suspends
fun.
belief.
yeah. I said it right.
He
DJ.
only watches documentaries now.
He never suspends.
No.
Oh, I've been watching a documentary on a midget baseball player.
Oh, yeah.
And
You're
how
not
he,
supposed
like,
to say
he's
that.
only
yeah.
one at
You're
bat.
not
Sorry,
supposed to
little
use
person.
that word.
You know what?
Well, that's what they called
cancel him.
That was
We're
his,
canceling your
what
bit.
His title was.
Write a letter to me, and then I will cancel his
Yeah.
bid because I'll be scared that
Hashtag cancel EJ.
we may lose a sponsor.
You're gonna lose sponsorship. Yeah.
Even though the sponsors don't even listen.
Oh, I had a meeting today. I'll have you know, I had a
So-
meeting today with a person that makes basketball specifically for little people, and it's been canceled.
It was baseball, and like his strike zone was so small, so he had one bad appearance. So he's tied for first place on base percentage because he's only had one at bat and he walked.
Was it in like major league?
He played for the St. Louis Browns, so it was like really early baseball. It was in the Major League Baseball, yeah.
What year was it?
He died in '63, so
Okay.
I think it was in like 1949, I think it was.
So most likely it was like an owner trying to do some publicity.
It was like a
stunt.
publicity stunt,
yeah. It's-
But they tried to hide it because they like signed him on a Friday and he played on Saturday, and they hid it from the commissioner because it had to be approved. But because it was signed on late on a Friday, he was able to play, even though it was a weird scenario. It's an interesting documentary. Like, it's on YouTube. It's not that long.
Let me ask you this, EJ. Could an owner? Is there any rule? Could you sign whoever you want to your team? Like if you
Yeah, people do like
Yeah.
teams
The
do it all
only
the
thing
time.
is the commissioner has overrule power. Like, he says that contract's not valid. That's what ended up happening to this guy after the weekend.
But if so, what I'm wondering if any baseball team or any professional sports team wants to do a publicity stunt and just like, let's say you're like, I want to pay Tom Hanks to be a member
think
of
they've
the,
done that.
like, you know,
Not
Well,
with
Will
Tom
Ferrell
Hanks.
did that over
Yeah.
spring training. Remember, he played for like 10 different teams like a couple of years ago. But he didn't get. The thing is, your roster has to be a certain size, and it has to be locked in like a certain amount of time before. So you can't really do these publicity stunts where you can have Drunky the Bear run the ball for -6 yards.
Well, it used to be a lot easier though, too. You know, like I think it.
well, that's not a real league, by the way. So it doesn't matter.
Oh, you were owner of that real league, weren't you?
Well, it was
yeah,
real money.
something,
That's
yeah.
true. He lost real money on it.
Yeah.
That's the only part that was real.
League.
I
It
still-
lost real money.
I still am part owner of OrlandoPredators.com or something like that.
Yeah,
Something
we buy out the old worthless LLC and start our own Arena League football team?
I have no idea.
We got enough fat guys that listen to
I
this
thought
show.
you're supposed to be good at business there, Tom.
We'll make
I don't-
EJ the
that's not
coach.
good at
Hold on a
business.
second.
OrlandoPredators.com goes to WestgateResorts.com. Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, so they own.
Well, he bought it. Remember the last big savior
Yeah.
was going to be Siegel.
I think you
no,
know.
I have no idea.
I don't own like a part of the website. I think it's a part owner of that old LLC,
The old LLC.
which owned the team, which no longer has a team.
Yeah.
So it's nothing.
It was, I believe, it was like shady dealings, withholdings, or something. Yeah, it was like something like. Yeah.
Yeah. Some holdings company. Yeah, like you know, it's like you're like, is this a waste?
You get a
management
fraction of a
company?
penny.
It's like solar and waste management holdings.
Tactical hat from our Twitch
Bail
chat room,
bonds.
twitch.tv/TomandDanLive. He says Redcoat Media could start an arena football league. Oh, tactical
Oh,
hat.
you just seen Butler was mad. He had to pay his Sunbiz registered thing. He's like yelling at
You haven't written one check to it. What's he else?
yeah, because he got it. Like, but I have not one check yet.
So he might as well not even have it.
Every single 2 weeks, I'm like, Redcoat Media? And he's like, no, still Butler. I'm
And-
still
and Bernie, I
I'm
heard
still
it-
figuring out. I'm like, what are you figuring out?
Go to Bernie already. Get a handle.
No, he has his lady who I heard him in there arguing with his CPA who said he couldn't write off Funko Pops. He was screaming at her good. You listen here, I'm the owner of Red Coat Media.
Yeah. So far, just had to re-up on Sun Vision, and then he was one day away from paying a $487 late fee.
Oh,
Yeah, they really get you at Sun.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had to pay it one time back
They
in the day.
love it.
Anyway, what else we got?
God.
Give us some more
What else we
nerd.
got? Okay, another nerd thing. Okay, you guys have been watching The Mandalorian. They're coming out with the child Bop It, so you can actually punch
Bop
Yoda
It.
as one of the things. So you could be like Jason Sudeikis.
You said a bunch
And
of
Bill
things.
Burr.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I
on
got
Disney
that.
Plus.
Yeah.
You remember that old toy Bop It? Twist it, Bop It. You
It's
remember
not really
I don't
that old.
remember.
It's like a newer Simon, right?
Oh, but it's pretty old. When
I
did-
mean, it's
when
like
did Bop
it's
It
at
come out?
least 15, 20 years old, but I mean, it's still like there was Simon, and then they updated it with like Bop It. It's just pattern game. It's like twist
Yeah.
it, bop. It'll be like twist, hit, and you'll be like twist, hit, then it'll be
Right.
like twist, twist.
Pull
And
it.
it
Oh,
lights
yeah,
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Came out in
Yeah.
1996.
I have a Baby Groot one where you twist his head and you pull his arms and you pull his legs.
It's like a pattern game.
And then in The Mandalorian, Jason Sudeikis bops Baby Yoda on the head. Does
In a bag.
Bop it.
Yeah,
So
Oh, I
they're
forgot
running.
about
They're
that.
running with the joke, I guess.
Yeah, okay. That's all right.
yeah. So that's available. Okay, you don't care. No fun. Okay.
This is,
I'm
by the
not
way,
saying
this
anything.
is the stuff that ruined Star Wars, and
I know.
you just got me in, guys.
See, did you guys watch Floor is Lava? Like that was the biggest thing that was over
No.
like past 2 weeks.
My sons like it. Yeah, I've watched like.
Didn't watch it.
It's
Haven't
it's not good.
There's
for,
too many of these shows now. Now USA has a new one called Cannonball that's hosted by The Miz from WWE.
Yeah.
And it's all the same. It's everything is Wipeout. It's like it's
Yeah.
all Wipeout.
Oh, have you seen Ultimate Tag hosted by the Watt brothers?
The Watts,
Oh
yeah, I talked
my
about that.
God.
Yeah, that's stupid too.
They're also Awake, which is that show where they keep people up for 24 hours.
That
and
can
they
be
count
dangerous.
quarters. That was a crazy. Have you watched that yet? Oh man, they put people in a room for 24 hours and you count quarters, and then you guess at how many you counted, and then they have all these other games. So you've been up for 24 hours, and then you play the game.
Can you do anything else while you're in the room besides counting quarters?
No, you're basically because the money you count is the money you can win at the end of it. Also, so like if you count like the one guy counted like 33 grand, and they gave him an opportunity to go for $1 million, or if his count was even with what he thought he'd counted, he would get $1 million. But he blew it.
Back to Floor's
hard.
Lava.
Like decision making with freaking sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
I saw some adults post that they like Floor's Lava, and I questioned that. To what?
I liked it. I went with my kids. My mother was watching with us, and she was yell. She had the best commentary. She was calling people. I don't know if you could say the word, so I'm not going to say it. She was saying
Was it
bad
the
words
N-word?
at the
'Cause you
characters.
can't.
No,
You can't
God,
say
no.
that.
Yeah.
Dumb and the butt word.
Dumbass.
Yeah, are you allowed to say that?
Yeah, you can say dumb.
Okay, she was calling them that because they weren't moving
EJ,
because they're timed.
you've been listening to, especially like the radio station, and this for 20
like, sugar
years,
shy, okay?
maybe more. How do you not know you can't say dumbass? You can literally.
Because he's a dumbass.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Hey.
I'm just kidding.
I've been also reading about Dunning-Kruger effect, and I'm not dumb enough to not know that I'm not smart.
The Dunning-Kruger effect.
The Dunning-Kruger effect.
Oh.
Basically, people that are dumb think they're smart. And
Well, yeah.
it's based off this guy that robbed a store. He robbed a bank, and he put lemon juice on his face and thought that he could get away with it because lemon juice is one of the ingredients for invisible ink. And he thought that the cameras wouldn't be able to see him. So he was
I
so
don't
dumb
believe
that
that.
scientists studied him.
Wow.
So Floor's Lava. My kids, my sons, 5 and 6 year old, they like it. They get it, but I'm watching it, and
It's for baby.
it's for kids. It's not.
I was having fun with my kids watching
Okay,
it. That's,
that's
why.
different. Me too, and it's fine. But if you're an
You
adult
can't
with
use
no
that
kids,
phrase, by the way. That's
Yeah.
for ladies.
oh, sorry. And then you're watching. what are they getting out of it without kids being
Well,
involved?
it's like I would imagine a QVC scenario, right? What's worse, Floor's Lava or QVC?
I guess maybe you're right. Maybe it's just a nothing.
Like a pass the time?
It's just a pass
Yeah.
the time, nothing. Because it's, and then but it's shot very corny.
You know what my wife puts on to pass the time in the background?
What?
First 48.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, this is
Oh
like,
my god.
I was like, this is
Yeah.
heavy, though. It's
That's
like,
too heavy. No, I like thinking about death too much as it is with
lot of blood.
coronavirus and all that stuff everywhere.
Not a sensitive snowflake.
no.
I am sensitive. I'll tell
I
you that
am
right
too.
now. I'm soft.
what do you got next?
The other thing, okay, they're going to bring back Michael Keaton as Batman in the Flash movie. They're going to do with Flashpoint. Tom has no clue what that is.
Well, Michael Keaton is an old man.
Yeah,
He's
right?
also not that
Yeah, but
great.
they played him you kind of got a glimpse of what it could be when he was in, what was that movie? Was it the
Birdman.
Birdman. So you see that and you're like, well, he might be older, but he could still be sort of a grizzly Batman. Is that
Yeah.
what they're going for? Like
Yeah, basically they're going to go with the in Flashpoint, which is Flash goes back in time and saves his mother from being killed, and it creates an alternate timeline where Batman doesn't become Batman, but Thomas Wayne, who's Batman's dad, becomes Batman. So it's an older Batman, and he uses guns and stuff like that.
Weird.
I think that's kind of
Yeah.
cool. All right, I'm down.
That, and also they might be casting him to play old Batman in the Batman Beyond movie as well. So he's like keyed for both of those.
Wait,
movies.
pause. Because I
Batman
said
Beyond
that.
with Terry McGinnis.
I said that.
Yeah, you did say that.
On
It's like
Nerd Jock that if
years
they,
ago.
Yeah, I said if you want to get me really back into Batman, you have Michael Keaton reprise his role of the one that really got me excited. It was the one I went to the theaters to see. You know, when they rolled out.
Return of the Joker.
No, just the regular Michael Keaton Batman, the first
Oh, the 89,
one. The
yeah.
89. Yeah, like, I mean, with
I
Batman.
went with my babysitter, my little brother, to see that movie.
I'm gonna go into nerd here. Bruce
All right.
Bruce Wayne was motivated by revenge because of the murder
Of his parents.
Right.
and he was
Okay.
he was dead set on revenge and cleaning up Gotham because he lost his parents, and that was his motivation. What motivation does Thomas Wayne have?
In
Gotham made him
Flashpoint,
rich. He's like,
Bruce Wayne gets killed in the alley instead.
killed his kid.
Oh,
Yes,
wow,
killed
that's
his kid,
worse.
and Martha Wayne becomes the Joker in that universe.
Who's Martha Wayne?
Is Bruce's mom.
Oh, so she goes ultra crazy.
She
and
goes
becomes a
crazy
villain?
because of the death of her son. He goes vigilante.
That's
A
more.
lot more dark.
That makes
Oh,
more
it's really
sense.
dark. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's good.
All right. Well, we got to get out of here, EJ.
All right.
We didn't
The
know.
only thing I had left was The Boys season 2. They showed the first 3 minutes on YouTube.
All right.
Did you guys watch that yet?
That's an Amazon superhero.
Amazon Prime, where
yeah.
they're ultra violent.
It's
Yeah.
good. It's good.
Yeah, I watched
It's
it.
good. Yeah, season 2's coming out September 4th.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, take care of the family. Tell them we said hey, and good luck with the fence.
Yeah, buy my jet ski so I can buy a fence.
Okay,
No.
you got it.
All right,
Talk to you soon. Bye. That is
Love
our
you.
good
Bye.
friend EJ.
Multiple
live.
people are
via
shouting that EJ is wrong and that he's not going to be playing Thomas Wayne.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's true or not, but
Well, I mean,
do your own
if-
research.
But
I
if we
guess.
correct those things, then we have nothing to talk about next week.
Yeah. We have no idea
Yeah.
if EJ's right or wrong. We'll just assume he's wrong.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
There it
take
is.
a break and we'll come back with more A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan right after this.
Welcome to a Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Our producer Samantha's here. Butler is here. Head over to tomanddan.com for all things Tom and Dan. Put some new merchandise out
Yeah.
there this
Yep.
week. A new Racerback ladies tee in like an orange?
Yeah, like a burnt orange type of situation.
But it's like
it's
subtle.
kind of like a creamsicle.
Yeah, it's light. It's not like, don't think
Summery.
like Halloween orange thing.
Right.
Yeah, like light. And then we got a new guy shirt. Pabone did a new, Eric Pabone, local artist. You can Google him and throw him some ducats if you need some custom art. But he did a very, very cool faces. I'm Tom, I'm Dan. Sure. Then what's the other
We got
one?
the 90s muscle tank.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pink.
Yeah, pink muscle tank.
And we also have some mediocre charity face masks.
yes.
Yeah, this is really, really cool. And I saw a guy this morning that bought like 50 of them again.
Yeah. It'd be a lot.
Buy them up.
And yeah,
for
but
charity.
all the money goes to charity, Yellow Brick Road Foundation, a charity that's very, very near and dear to our hearts. This helps out kids that have congenital heart defects and helps their families as well. We've been working with them for years now, and it's just easier for us to do everything Yellow Brick because we love the kids.
Let's do it.
All right, buddy.
The show was young, the future was so bright. Fans and droves wanted to be inside. Know everyone on the whole damn street. Knows Tom's got some jacked up feet. COVID's got the whole world torn. Free trials to all the porn. How can one little show screw up so many lives? Lisa's gone, and so is Lee. They won't be missed by me. We're Job Wednesday. It's hard to rhyme. Should have done Sublime.
There he is.
Love
Thank
it.
you, Pariah Mike.
Pariah Mike again with the home run on the Weird Job Wednesday theme song. And now you're just getting him to custom tailor songs that you like.
Well, no.
And still no.
For a weird job, I said.
He just does that on his own.
Yeah, I just said do whatever
He's
song you
appealing
want.
to you, though.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
I'll give him
But
something.
he did say I should have done Sublime.
Yeah, I'll give him something I know.
Weird Job Wednesday brought to you by Goldsmith Jewelry Shop. Me and Daniel got our custom-made wedding rings from Goldsmith.
Years ago, before we even worked with them,
Yeah.
I got an engagement ring, my ring. You got a bunch of jewelry
Oh, yeah.
made for your wife to replace all the jewelry that you've had stolen over the years.
Yeah, and what's cool is they can do custom work. For
Yeah.
instance, I took an old chain that I had in high school that was my grandfather's.
And you have it in your teeth now.
I melted out the Paul Wall girl.
Yeah, I love it.
2006 reference or earlier. Anyway, and they melted down a little piece of it and made a Mother's Day ring for my wife, and they do all sorts of stuff like that. So it's Goldsmith Jewelry on Lee Road.
Yeah.
Just tell them that you heard it from us.
Yeah, and go custom. You can save a lot of money on a custom piece of jewelry.
Yeah, it's cooler getting it custom. Like I said, getting them to melt down something, make something unique, one-off.
Yeah. Takes
So-
a little bit more time, but way better, and makes that heirloom piece of jewelry. On the line, we have Scott. Hello, Scott.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Are you drunk?
Nope. Got the corona. That's
Oh.
one thing, though.
Do you
You
really?
do? You got?
Yeah.
Oh my God, man! Are you all right?
Yeah, just fighting the fever for the last couple days.
Oh, no.
How'd you get it?
I think through family, you know.
Yeah.
What are they good for?
You didn't bump your head
Yeah.
on the 7-Eleven sneeze guard like I did.
Oh,
yeah.
Because that's how I'm waiting. I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, couple
A
more
lot
days.
of I have it, and I just don't tell anybody about it.
That's
yeah.
good.
If you don't tell anybody,
Yeah,
it
you
doesn't
don't have
exist.
it. Yeah, that's what Tom told me.
Yeah.
And if I wore a mask, then people think I have it. So I just walk around with it with no mask. Is that right? I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I feel like that's wrong.
Completely joking.
No,
we
they-
got to laugh a little
They
bit.
know you're joking. So Scott,
Is your job getting corona?
No. Now it is, I think. Though.
when you how'd you know you had it? Did you just start feeling sick?
Yeah, feeling sick. My sister got it first, and then it trickled through the family, you know. About every 4 or 5 days, someone else had it. And I was the last to get it, so the last one to get over it.
Do you guys
Yeah,
all
no.
live together?
No, we just spend a lot of time together.
Yeah.
Do you sleep? Do you all sleep in a bed like Charlie from Charlie and the Chocolate Family's grandparents?
Yeah. That was a weird scenario. I don't know why that was
I wanna
even
talk
happening.
about
I want to talk.
Poor.
I don't remember the movie as good as maybe you do or Samantha does, but were the guys on one side and girls on one
No,
side?
it's one couple on each side.
Now, when they went to bed, was it one blanket? Because it was heads on
I think it was one blanket.
either end. So
Yeah.
if I'm laying down,
And the bed was in the kitchen.
yeah.
Well, I
which
think
is
it was like a studio situation
fancy.
where there were
It was
no
a
bedrooms.
loft. It was like living at 55 West downtown.
Yeah.
And so you're laying in the bed, right, with the other couple, and Charlie's going on and on about this dumb chocolate bar, and and you look under the sheets, and you see right into the other grandpa's wife's
Yeah, because they all wear muumuus.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of, that's a free living right there.
Also, why are you still in bed, old people? Like, you need to get up and exercise. You're going to die in there
Well,
of
he did.
atrophy. Huh?
Grandpa Joe did,
Started
right?
dancing.
Well,
He's
Grandpa
crazy.
Joe was the one. He wasn't in bed. The other old
No, he
people.
He was in bed.
Absolutely he was.
Oh.
Yeah, but then suddenly he's
That's why
like,
there's that meme like, oh, this guy didn't get out of bed for 20 years, and then
Yeah.
he gets a golden ticket and he's dancing around crazy.
yeah, but I feel like you at some point you
That's
gotta,
right, I
you gotta
forgot.
like, I'm sick of looking at all this old pussy. I gotta dance.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Scott. We got ahead of ourselves.
I got carried away.
So you're doing all right now, just waiting it out to get back to work, which is what we want to talk about. What is your job?
I'm a commercial beekeeper and queen breeder.
All right. You're a beeman. So
Yep, beeman.
do you work for a company or you do this on your own?
We've always kind of worked with other people. I'm a fourth generation beekeeper. Wow. So our family goes all the way back to around 1920 down in near Okeechobee, running bees out of there, and then everyone just kind of stuck with it, and me and my dad are the last people who actually are still beekeeping. The rest of the family kind of went their own ways with it.
That's
But,
cool as hell,
he
man.
sounds a little bit like John Anderson to me, and when he said Okeechobee, I
Yeah.
just wanted to start singing.
Blow, blow, Seminole wind, blow like you're never gonna blow again.
For sure.
Swinging.
If you called the local news and you told them that that you may or may have not have given your bees corona,
Oh,
Uh,
Corona bees!
and they'll run with the story, corona bees.
Yes.
And
Let's do
I think
it.
it's your American duty to do that.
Yeah.
Because I just want to see some dumbass local news talk about corona bees.
Yeah, spread the panic.
It's
That's what
funny
I say.
yeah, it's coming from old COVID Danny over here.
Yeah. Spread the panic.
So, I want to talk to you about beekeeping. I know a little bit about this. My brother-in-law is a beekeeper,
He is.
and I one time I spent the whole afternoon interviewing him about it.
You made your wife mad.
Yeah. And Crystal told me to shut the hell up at the end of the night because I wouldn't stop asking questions. But isn't it true that you can, like, once you have a beehive, that it grows in numbers to where a certain amount of the bees will fly out to start another hive and another queen. Therefore, you can kind of take one beehive and then turn it into multiple so that you could basically, for lack of a better term, propagate beehives to as many as you want, right?
Yep, that's correct. In the early spring and fall, when the hives are at their strongest time, they'll outgrow their natural, if they're in a tree or something, naturally they'll outgrow that, and they'll spread out, and either the queen that's in it will leave, or they'll make another queen, and she'll end up flying off with about half the hive, and then that'll naturally make two. We, as a commercial beekeepers, we actually take the hive, and once it gets strong enough, we'll actually take frames out of the box that have baby bees on it, or brood, which are the larval stages of the bee.
Sure.
And then we'll take those over, and we'll put those in a separate box, add a new queen to it, and then, separate them so they don't fly back to that original box, and then you'll end up with a new hive that way.
Now, does it ever not take almost like a transplant, like an organ transplant, where you put you put all the pieces in there, you add the queen, you're ready to go, and just something's not right?
Yep. Sometimes it's agriculture, so
Yeah.
a lot of different things can go wrong with it, and you're kind of working on a numbers game, so it's a lot harder to start with like 5 hives. It's a lot harder to build up to 100 hives, where if you had 100 hives, it's pretty easy to split it and make 500 or 600 hives pretty easy.
Gotcha. Once you get it rolling, it's way easier.
Scott, talk about what the bees do to create their own queen, because this is fascinating to me. It's like the whole bee, like the insect itself, is crazy.
It is fascinating.
how they do everything, and they each have their job. But talk about how they make a queen.
All right. When the queen lays an egg, they will feed it royal jelly to start it off. So imagine a thing it looks about like a grain of rice is what their eggs look like. And then within 3 days, they hatch out into a little larva. It's very, very small, and they'll just feed it royal jelly for about the first week, and then they'll start feeding it pollen and stuff like that, and a bee bread solution, which is pretty much pollen that they fermented, and so that'll turn it into a worker bee. To turn it into a queen, though, they'll actually lay that egg into a bigger cup, a bigger cell, that's about probably a third larger than the regular cell,
Yeah.
and they'll feed it nothing but royal jelly, and then the bees will naturally draw that out knowing that's going to be a queen. So that's how they make another queen for their hive.
It's crazy that, like, instinctively or just how they're designed, they know to do that.
Yeah.
And then once they have a queen, that process stops because they are aware that there is a queen.
Yeah. And
Yep,
That
the
seems-
pheromones will keep them.
That's nuts, right?
And-
well, that's a little nuts.
And Scott, isn't there something too where sometimes like a hive will make multiple queens, and then the first one to be born will go out, will like be born, and then stab the other cells with its queen stinger to make sure that it's the only queen, because they know that if multiple queens are born, then all of a sudden there's going to be a queen fight, bad for the first
Uh-oh.
queen.
Oh,
so
yeah.
the first
I've seen
queen
a
that's
couple
It's called a
queen
Royal
fights.
Rumble.
Yeah,
Royal Bumble.
Yeah. that's pretty good.
the first
Thank you.
queen that's born will stab all the other
Yeah.
queen cells to make sure that no other queen is born. Something like that?
Yep, that's true. Because most of the time when a hive needs a queen, all the bees know it, so they just draw out as much, whatever is of the right age, they'll draw out into queen cells, which is pretty much a queen egg. And then if there's 15 or 20 in the hive, the first one out will spend the first couple of days just running through the hive, killing all the other queen cells off, and then the bees will, after they sting it, they'll kill the queen inside of it with their stinger, and then the bees know this has died, and the bees will actually tear that cell apart and get rid of it, and then you're only left with that first queen that made it.
Yeah. It's crazy, dude.
And does that ever now? Not to just kind of settle on this particular process,
Yeah.
but does that process ever go wrong where they ever attack the queen that's alive? I mean, it's just weird to me that they know this without really even making. It's not like they're thinking to do all of this. This is just something that happens, right?
Yeah. It's mostly ran off pheromones, so
Sure.
the bees can smell that. Oh, they can smell that's a worker bee, that's a drone,
Yeah.
that's a queen bee, and a lot of it's off of smell and sight what they work with.
Dude, they're the closest to a tiny computer. I've heard them described as that. Like, they just do only what they're programmed to do, and they don't vary. It's not like a worker will all of a sudden be like, I'm the queen now. Like, it just doesn't happen. In fact, the worker bee, and tell me if this is true, Scott, will basically work until its wings disintegrate, and then just it only has a certain amount of flight hours, and it'll just work until its wings disintegrate, and then it'll just die because it'll have no way to move.
God, I feel like I'm doing that right
I
now.
was gonna say.
Yeah.
So
my God.
Am I right with that?
Yeah, the youngest bees work inside the hive closest to the newly hatching brood. So the baby bees, their first job is to actually take care of the larva that's growing up to be younger bees. And the older they get different jobs. So as they move towards, they only live 5 or 6 weeks. So towards that 5th and 6th week, they're either on guard duty out in front of the hive. So in case they die, they just push them on out. Or they're foraging, so they will fly out and just maybe not fly back.
Gotcha, yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
Fascinating.
So, okay, let's move on from the biology of the actual
We
insect.
want to get into the business.
And let's talk about the
aspect.
business, because I think the majority of Americans don't realize that everything, like all our crops and stuff, is all pollinated by professional beekeeper companies who will bring out like millions of bees to a particular crop and then just leave them there for a couple weeks. They'll go out,
Got to make some stuff happen.
pollinate everything, and then come back to the hives. Then the bee company themselves will not only have the honey to sell, but they get paid for that. So let's talk about like the business behind it. Am I correct with every crop is pollinated basically by these bee companies, right?
Yeah, most of your commercial crops are going to be pollinated through beekeepers, either regular beekeepers or they even do bumblebees will go out and do pollination too. That's kind of been taken off the last couple of years. But for us, we go early spring. We'll run out to California and take our bees out there to pollinate the almonds.
Yeah.
Almonds are one of the harder things to pollinate because if you don't have bees on them, you only get about a 10% take on what is naturally pollinated off of them.
Right.
So they pay the most money for that. They'll pay $150 to $165 a hive to ship them out there and pollinate for about a month.
So when you're talking about like, so you get a contract with some of these almond companies that have almond tree fields, probably, a mile long or whatever, huge fields.
Like your blue diamonds
So
and your,
is there a calculation to, all right, we got this big of a field square footage wise, we need this many hives to...
Oh, you didn't use the bee estimate calculator online?
Yeah, how does that work? Like, how many hives do you need? Obviously, the more the better, but is there too many?
I don't think there's ever going to be too many. I think it's, I forget the what they said a couple years ago, but it's something like 60 or 70% of all commercial beekeepers go to California to do almonds, to pollinate almonds. So, and every year the price keeps going up because they keep finding that they need more and more beekeepers out there because they keep expanding the orchards out there to need more and more bees.
And with people trying to be healthier, drinking less regular milk, drinking more almond milk, eating more almonds. I mean, that's an area I would have never thought would have, like, boomed.
Oh, yeah. And apparently there's a lot of, like, controversy with the almond industry in California where people are mad that they're taking up so much water, like in California, and then they're talking about how, like, even almond milk is pretty inefficient. So it's like
it's extremely inefficient.
So it takes so many pounds of almonds to make the almond milk, and there's a lot of products, but people are almond crazy, so the business keeps itself going because the consumer keeps buying it. But really, if you broke it all down, you're like, this is a pretty inefficient nut, and the way the farming,
we gotta find a better nut.
It's there's probably better options.
One in the Twitch chat room said basically what I've read is just the amount of water that these areas need to grow. It's almost like Samantha's tomato plant thing needs to be watered like 25 times a day.
And you're growing in the desert, so you have to ship the water in as a
I'll just stick to regular, full-fat, vitamin D, big moo cow milk.
So, Scott, for you, like your job, what do you exactly do? Do you drive the bees out to a particular place, set them up, and let them pollinate for a couple weeks? Like, walk us through the process.
That's the commercial pollination side of the business, and a lot of times what we do, we just get them ready here, and as they're coming off of winter, they're coming out of winterization. We keep feeding them sugar water and corn syrup, and we keep feeding them up and giving them pollen substitutes so they're really big and strong for whenever the almond producers are ready for them because they want them earlier and earlier each year. So we try to make them as strong as possible. Then we'll actually hire semi-trucks from out in California or from brokers who do this for a living, and they'll come by and we'll load up a truck of 480, 490 hives, and we'll put them on a semi-truck, put big nets over them, and they'll ship them out. They'll take care of them out there. They'll place them in the field. They'll load them back up on the truck for us, and they'll ship them back to us. So that's how the commercial pollination side of it works. And then there's a lot of ways to make money with the bees. You can do pollination. You can do strictly honey production. You can do where you're actually making more beehives for other people, which is they're making splits. So they split the hives in half. We call them splits or nukes.
And you said like about $150 per hive for the almond farmers. Yep. Is that in total or per month?
That's for the month. It's the cost per taking them out there for that year, and it fluctuates the price, but I've seen people send anywhere from, one semi-load's pretty good, to people who've sent locally here, they'll send 8 semi-loads out there. 8 semi-loads of 460 hives,
Yeah.
at $150 a piece.
Yeah. It's
I've
about
seen people make,
$70K a month.
I've seen people make, $70,000-$80,000
Yeah.
in the first month of the year.
Wow. From essentially, you could.
So it's a rental fee, sort of, right?
Yeah, it's rental.
Is there any production? Is there any protection for the hive? I mean, man, I'd hate to, because that's your bread and butter. You're leasing it out there, so you send out 490 hives, and then
What if someone steals? Because
or destroys the hive? Like, how does that work?
They're really good with keeping them safe and distributing them out, and just because they want you to come back next year, and if you're a guy with good bees who are going out, they really take care of you so you come back the following year.
Gotcha.
So there's not many theft issues out there.
With the actual honey that the bees, because the bees will use the almond flowers and the pollen to make honey, and then the honey itself, what I found fascinating is whatever the bees are making the honey with, it'll be, the taste of the honey will be influenced by that pollen. So like you could have pollen and honey from different parts of Florida that will taste different, and also in different parts of the season. So like a springtime, the honey will be really dark, and then in the winter, the honey will be a lot lighter because obviously less blooms and pollen available and stuff. So it'll fluctuate. And like I've tasted it. My brother-in-law was like, "Hey, check this honey out. Spring, it's dark as hell." And I was like, "Wow, it's like really strong
robust,
honey."
yeah.
And then this is light. So
I compare it to like olive oil almost, in the tastes.
So is the honey valuable at all for these companies? Like, do they harvest the honey from these almond farms?
The almonds really don't produce a lot of honey. They'll make a little bit, but the honey is not a very good honey. It's kind of a sour taste to it. So usually what we do, we just leave that on the hives when they come back, and we let the bees feed off of that, and then we'll put boxes on top of that stuff for our following crop, which would be, it could be orange blossom, or it could be like palmettos or something like that.
Do you like honey?
Yeah. I don't eat it that much.
I'm finding that I like it as a use of sugar in my house.
A sweetener,
Our sweetener, yeah. I find that I use it more now, like for sauces and things, because it's easier to just kind of whip it
natural,
in there, and it tastes better. Like, and it's so rich. Like one little blob on your finger, doesn't take much at all.
Scott, now I know I said this before, and people laughed at me, but do you think one day, because like, okay, if you can't even use the honey in the almond fields or whatever, like they just need a tiny insect computer to go and pollinate each one, land on a male flower, land on a female flower, pollinate it in a gigantic, square footage. So bees are the obvious choice. They're the most efficient at doing that. Could there ever be like a mass-produced mini drone that some company comes out with, like easy to produce, and comes out with thousands of these drones that can pollinate these fields, instead of bees? Or will bees always be the cheaper option?
Good question.
Because essentially you can make as many as you want with as many hives as you want. I know there's some like disease that's killing them, but do you think there could ever be a mini drone that could do this process?
I don't think it'll ever be cost effective.
Yeah.
Because in a one standard beehive, you're looking at 30 or 40,000 bees per hive. So you'd make 30 or 40,000 drones just to make up one beehive, which is costing them $150 to rent.
Unless you completely change the process, and we may not be there. And it just seems like it's just the little bit. I mean, we only have a little bit of time. He gives us a snapshot of what the queen and all that, and I'm like, that's so complicated.
Yeah. You're right.
But for something, you know what? Why maybe honey makes me happy as a sweetener is that it tastes complicated. Like when I taste honey, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a lot of work there.
Dude,
you know,
40,000 bees did this whole crazy process
Yeah.
to make this.
Yeah.
It's insane.
and there's murder involved.
It's
You know what I
insane.
mean?
Yeah.
Like once the queen's picked, she's running through the hive, stabbing everything. You know, like it's a lot of intrigue and murder involved. I'm pro honey.
So
Me too.
Scott,
It's tasty.
last question. We kind of talked about what companies can make, but what can an employee make as a professional beekeeper? And like, with your status, what do you pull in a year?
Most entry-level guys who are just working for someone really don't make that much money. You do more of that just for training,
Sure.
you know, so one day you can go off and have your own beehives and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
We've made anywhere from, I mean, even my dad working for another beekeeper, he made over $100,000 a couple years.
Where's that honey money?
And then, so with us owning our own beehives, we're small right now, but we're growing fast
Nice.
because we knew what we're doing. And so anywhere from, I've seen big beekeepers make with 2,000 or 3,000 hives. They make $1.5 million a year.
Man, I could.
Can we get a hive? I want a hive for the studio.
No.
I want fish. I want bees. I want
We
a
could put a
bear.
hive
Ant
back there.
farm.
I want an ant farm. I want a trash bear.
Yeah.
I want an army of raccoons.
Scott, there's some
And
good.
I want an air hockey table.
From what,
man.
even what my brother-in-law does, he has a very small little private operation with him and his
give
wife
me
and his
some of
kids.
their honey.
Yeah, and he actually does it more for a hobby / small business
Yeah.
where he'll sell the honey and also sell some hives and stuff. He'll like split,
dabbles, yeah.
He'll split his hives and then sell like I think he's got like a 80 or 90 or something like that.
It's also a hobby that I think is good for the environment, so that's cool.
And so but he told me even the cost of honey like is so high that he'll make honey and sell it for like, and he has no problem selling it to friends and family
honey's expensive.
instantly. And he'll make good money. I remember one time he told me the money behind it, and now it's a lot of work. But I was surprised about how much money you can make in honey and from splitting hives and just selling, like 50 hives off to someone else.
Yep. It's a lot of hard work, especially being here in Florida because it gets so hot for so long here. Some people migrate from here to up north, back and forth throughout the year just to kind of chase the different crops and stuff. But I mostly do the queen breeding, so I make more queens for other beekeepers and stuff. And we'll make $3,500 a week or so off of making 50 or 60 queens, and it's a pretty good.
Do they ever not do what you want them to do?
Oh, you mean like a mad queen?
like do you ever go to do this process and then something else happens and you're like, that's weird, or does it's always the same?
No, it's always could be something. If you get one queen loose where you're trying to build out your cells, your pretty much your queen eggs. If you get one queen that finds a way into that hive, it'll eat 200 or 300 of those cells that I've had to individually place eggs into to make a queen cell, and they could wipe out. You might wipe out a whole week's worth of work.
Yeah, I was
in a matter of
thinking,
days.
okay, based on
That's
what you're
crazy.
saying, it's also interesting to think that you're trying to do something that really is not native to you. You're a big human. You're trying to, you're using the eggs in the process.
You're manipulating
and
these
then,
insects.
And then that queen gets in there and she's like, I'm built to do this.
Yeah.
Bye-bye 200 of your cells. Bye-bye a week.
She starts stabbing it, eating everything.
She's stabbing it good.
You ever been
Hello?
stung? You ever been stung crazy? I mean, that's an obvious dumb question.
Yeah, that's a question everyone asks. But yeah, I get stung daily. It's just you get used to it. I've been getting stung since I was probably 6 years old. Helping
Tom's
my dad
been
work on
stinging
them.
since he was 6 years old.
Do you build up does it hurt less for you than the normal person?
Yeah. It still hurts, but there's no swelling or anything like that.
If you spit
And
in my mouth, do I become a bee man too?
Will he start going crazy and trying to kill every queen around him?
Yeah, or I just start dancing to Blind Melon in the rain.
All right, Scott. I appreciate the Weird Job Wednesday today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys.
All right, man.
And heal up from your COVID.
Yeah, feel better.
Let us
and
know.
We forgot you had COVID.
Yeah.
Hey, can your bees get it and then you infect the entire world?
Oh yeah, remember the COVID bees? Those
Yeah.
like
I
corona
don't think
bees?
so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot we talked about it.
All right. We'll talk to you later, Scott. I was
Will
gonna-
you?
But we won't.
Right.
You lied to him.
I may
You
talk
should have
to
said,
him.
"Stay safe out
You
there."
kept him on the hook. Now he's going to be like,
He's gonna wait for us to call back.
Tom calls me later tonight. Just a nice calm bee, man.
I was gonna.
Bees calm you down, or
I
that
guess
could be that
so.
COVID fever.
I was
That's
gonna,
true.
I was gonna ask him more about how he felt, but it's just like, all right, like
Said he
how do you
fighting
feel?
a fever.
got a
Validate
fever.
this for me.
Yeah.
Tell me it's terrible, Cuomo.
Yeah. It just got a fever.
Yeah. He sounds fine.
Yeah. Well, most people get it as
Yeah.
like a fever, whatever.
God, I
they're
like,
sick.
man, I love me some honey. I've been using it a lot lately. I use it in my coffee sometimes.
Yeah.
rich.
Oh yeah.
Super duper rich.
Although it's the same, it's sugar.
Yeah, it's bad for you.
It's probably better than a processed sugar, but I don't even know if your body breaks it down the same. It's sugar, right? But it seems like a more healthy option. Right?
Honey, you are my candy Tom,
Tom.
and I know you.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back with more Corporate Time. Welcome back to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Last week we talked about being a super fan of the movie Back to the Future, and who would have guessed that we actually have a gentleman that listens to our program.
Hey guys, I'm one of those mega Back to the Future fans that you guys were talking about the other day. And listen to you guys talk about it while I loved hearing my favorite podcast talk about my favorite movie. Oh man, some of the stuff you were saying, I was just like screaming at my phone.
Oh, we know.
But Tom, you were asking like what makes someone such a big fan, and I can't even explain it to you, dude. It's just like every time I've seen that movie over 100 times easy. Every time I finish watching it, I miss it. It literally
my
is like
God.
I have to like involve myself in Back to the Future in some way. I have tattoos. I've played the video games. I have the books and everything you can possibly have. I can't afford a DeLorean yet, but one day maybe. And
I got you, bro.
I'm addicted almost. It's just like something I cannot get away from. Anyways, love the show. Just wanted to share that with you guys.
Or
And
though, maybe I shouldn't enable you.
No, I thought it
I was
was
gonna say I
cool.
might have a DeLorean hookup for you, but you might have a problem.
Also, the fact that he was hiding in his cubicle like made it creepier. But like, no, I get what you're saying, dude. And thank you. That was brave of you. I'm glad you called in. It's cool. You could hear how genuine he was. You could hear how authentic.
I felt bad when he said when he finishes
to
the
it.
movie, he misses it
Yeah.
immediately.
It must
He
have
just-
just struck
it's
a
like
chord.
heroin.
Yeah. It just it was something about
If you studied
maybe
that-
nostalgia.
But I think if you studied that, it might have been whatever was going on in his adolescent life.
When he saw it the first time.
Yeah,
It just-
and then his age, how impressionable he was, what that feeling that he gets from it might be some sort of a comforting or maybe filling a hole that he has in his heart because of something else that happened. I don't know.
yeah.
Everybody's different,
Yeah.
but it's cool to hear somebody that's into something like that. And then I start to think about myself, and I'm like, well, what are you that into? And the only thing I can think of really is kind of this show, but I kind of have to be into that one because
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder if he has a significant other and what they feel about his obsession. Because it could be, if it's like a true addiction, it could be affecting his personal life.
Yeah. Although if they met him while
What if he hit it like a real true drug
that's
addict?
the problem. It said
you
if you
can't hide
spring
it.
that on
We knew a
Yeah.
guy.
your partner, they're like, hey, by the way, I spend about $2,000 a month on this garbage, and this is my
come
problem, or
on.
whatever it is.
This is his passion.
Yeah. That's so most likely they, you know what you're signing up for.
I mean, we know a guy that got really into a particular video game and it ruined his life. And then he ended up not only getting a divorce and alienating his entire family, but killing himself.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. I can
It,
tell you off the air. It's a real thing. It happens.
Yeah, the people,
But-
they battle
Mental illness.
you
It's
know.
really
chemical imbalance and stuff, and then you get obsessed with things or addiction. It all plays into
Yeah.
it, So,
anyway.
but if it's just like, hey, this brings you happiness, everybody's got to waste their time and money before you die. So
Yeah.
figure out what that is
We're all
there's
just here to get out of here.
There's no right or wrong. It's
Yeah.
like we're all wasting money and time into whatever it
Something.
is to waste time until we die. You know, it's like how are you gonna
Make money, waste time, die.
Yeah. And some people don't want to make as much money, and that's actually probably
That's
a
my
blessing.
new aggressive Facebook T-shirt brand. Make money, waste time, die.
Because think about it, if you are wired where you don't care about having nice things, that's actually an advantage to every human, I think.
Yeah.
You know, like because if you're wired to like only really appreciate nice things or like you constantly want the best and the nicest, then you're going to be working your whole life to get those things, you know? The people that don't care and that like will drive any crappy car or will live in anywhere, like, you know, like that, and possessions don't mean anything.
Different
like,
level of priorities.
Yeah. You're actually winning as
Yeah.
a human to me because you don't
That's the
require
key.
as much work towards that.
Yep.
Things. You know?
I can agree with you. We got to get out of here. TomandDan.com for all things Tom and Dan. Thank you guys so much for listening. We certainly do appreciate it. Do us a huge favor. Go to YouTube and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Been putting out a lot of good content, including brand new Swervy Jones cartoons. And I'm about to fire up some of those for our lunch breaks.
Yep.
So, yeah, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Welcome back to A Corporate Time with Tom and with Dan. I'm Dan.
Tom.
Samantha, our producer's here, and it's time for her to shine. Ladies and gentlemen, put on your sunglasses. It's time for Who's Porkin'? Pork in the butt. Pork.
No.
Pork. Use a fork when you pork. Spoon, new little spoon. I do.
No, you're going crazy. What are you doing?
Gone crazy. He's gone crazy. He's off his meds. Everybody in his house is dead. Who checked on him?
We love murdering. Yeah.
Who's Porkin'? Brought to you by Porky's Barbecue and Apopka. Delicious, slow-cooked barbecue that you You gonna eat them french fries? Porky's.
Just want to mention that Porky's has been sanitized for another time, and they are ready for the week. And they have takeout, which is recommended. They have Chow Now, DoorDash, drive-through, curbside takeout, and I Crave delivery available. And they
Yes.
also have their drive-through.
Chow Now.
Yeah,
That's
I guess,
a new one.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Chow
It
Now.
must be an Apopka thing, right?
I guess
Chow Now, brown cow.
Sloppy cow.
Ooh, sloppy cow's good.
we can already go ahead and assume that every restaurant that's still in business has takeout available.
Yeah,
right?
do it.
Some are avoiding the third-party ones because I guess there's some service fees and stuff. So
Yeah.
they're like not even breaking even on the delivery, which
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
sucks.
yeah.
But you can do curbside. So order, give them a call and pick it up.
Yeah. And that's what I meant. Like maybe the delivery options you have are limited because there are a bunch of
And sometimes
different
they
ones,
pare down their menu
Yeah.
Sure.
a little
yeah.
bit to make it quick. You know, if there's certain things that people, normally would buy if they were in the particular restaurant, they would,
Yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that I can ask for takeout and they'll have that available because
Especially at Porky's.
you don't need to advertise that anymore. Restaurants.
takeout?
I'll just I'll do the math on like you'll probably have takeout available.
Well, what if you did this in order to just kind of like spur people, and what if you were like now with takeout, but you've always had it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, spin it.
Like act like it's a new thing.
yeah.
Who's porking?
Yeah.
So, you may have heard of this because a couple BDMs hit me up. I think someone shared it in the BDM group as well. Friend of the show, Ryan Cabrera, is
Yes.
dating WWE star Alexa Bliss.
Okay.
You familiar?
Now, and she is very tight-lipped with this. I've only seen one picture of them together, and I believe it was on his Instagram. Mm-hmm. Like on her Instagram, it's normally just a picture of her, maybe her cats or something like that, maybe some ring stuff.
Okay.
Because she's a Probably one of the more beloved female wrestlers WWE has. She happens to be tiny and absolutely gorgeous, so that doesn't hurt.
They got introduced back in last October at a SmackDown event because Ryan Cabrera is really good friends with The Miz, which is
I
another
didn't know
WWE
that.
star. I guess they're like best friends.
Oh, wow.
He introduced them, and then they started dating somewhere around February or so. People are guessing, but I guess she was dating another wrestler prior to Ryan Cabrera, a Murphy, something Murphy.
Buddy Murphy.
Buddy Murphy, that's
yeah,
right.
who just now goes as Murphy.
Okay. Well, apparently there was a deranged fan that tweeted out to Alexa Bliss that she was going to murder Ryan Cabrera.
Oh.
Or he was going to murder Ryan Cabrera. Says, why the F did you cheat on WWE Murphy? That's cold. He has did nothing to you, and that's why when I see Ryan Cabrera, I'm going to kill him, and I'm going to F you up in your black Jeep. So try me. That's what I got, Murphy. A date with Nikki Benz. So this guy made a death threat on Twitter, and she went to the authorities and got that handled. So hopefully you can't just tweet that you're going to kill people.
No.
And also, who is this fan that is so invested
Well,
in a
probably a
wrestler's
troll.
relationship of someone that
Yeah.
he does not know?
wrestling fans are a little
Well,
different.
they are very
though.
dedicated.
They're a different breed.
He must
yeah.
be a really big fan of Buddy Murphy to the point where he is going to kill
Well,
or threaten to kill.
Wrestling is so accessible too. Like you can find a lot of it.
Sure.
So, oh man, I don't know. Yeah, that's sad.
It's I bet you they took the threat a lot more serious when they threw in the fact that she owns a black Jeep. Don't know if that's right or wrong or what.
Right,
you
but that
know?
was a little tidbit
Yeah,
where
yeah,
it's like,
it's like I
Oh,
now
yeah, when they
Yeah.
pepper in the details.
Yeah.
Right.
Which nowadays
that's stalkery, but
it's literally just as easy to just search her photos and then whatever TMZ took a picture of you last, whatever you were driving. I
Sure.
mean, it's easy. It's not like you have to find where the person lives and have binoculars to see what car they drive out from. It's it's all public information.
Yeah, it's completely interesting that you selected this as a cut it out, Sam, and I'll tell you why. Like,
well, it's not cut it out. It is.
Or excuse me,
Porkin.
Porkin. Yeah, sorry, my brain. We've done so many. Yeah,
It's
cut it out
fine.
could never be as good as this. Cut it out. No one listened to it. 3 people. For who's Porkin? It's interesting you selected this because Alexa Bliss is one of those people that like I've looked at her Instagram and stuff like that, and you don't really get a good feeling. Like some people overshare.
She's very private.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say very, but she's as private as I think you could be to be that popular.
Okay.
Very popular, let's say, one of the best in an area where a lot of people watch you. You know, I watch wrestling a little bit. I watched a little last night, and then I was also yesterday looking at just because she popped up on my my news feed, my Apple News, was Heather Locklear. I looked her up. And she kind of does sort of the same thing that Alexa Bliss does in the fact that her Instagram is active and it's been active, but it's usually pictures of like her kids or places she's been, but you don't really see much face. So you don't really get a good idea of like how this person is, you know, or like how they've aged or like what they look like. It's weird.
I got a relationship question for you guys that ties in. So she is a female wrestler. I wonder if, and this goes with all kind of genres of work or what you're into or what you're around.
Well, she's been like the best. So think ladies champion, top tier.
So do you think that she wants a guy that is like polar opposite of the wrestlers that she's around all
Well,
day?
she was dating a wrestler before this.
Okay, so that throws that out. Because
Did you not listen to anything I just said?
my theory
He goes
over
in and out while he's tripping. I can tell he's tripping right now.
I started working my own theory
the
when
whole
you were
thing
talking.
where this fanatic person said he was going to kill Ryan Cabrera
Well,
because
I know what you're saying.
she cheated on
Because-
this wrestler.
Like
Because that's a big jump. Like wrestlers, not all of them, but they tend to kind of fit a mold. Daniel knows what I'm
they're
talking about.
extremely unique people, and wrestlers typically end up dating wrestlers because you're on the road, hard life, physical life, extremely fleeting, difficult. Once you get to that top tier, I mean, it's as competitive as I would imagine any other sport.
But most wrestlers that I've experienced being around they're all workout dudes for one, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to be to maintain that
Got to
physique.
take care of your body.
You have to have a workout schedule where
A lot of people think that you and I are wrestlers just the way that wherever we go.
Yeah.
And we have to tell them, we're like, no, we've just adopted the workout guy lifestyle, We are now. Hold on, shocker. We're podcast. We're podcasters. We're sedentary. I know that when you look at us, you're like, do you ever sit down or lay on the couch? And
Is
the
that
answer,
a long distance marathon runner?
yeah, holy moly, look at you. How do you find clothes to fit you? You're so muscular.
So they're workout dudes. Also, a little peppering of nerd.
And also could be a peppering of a dum-dum.
yeah. So
That's a
now
fancier
there
way.
are exceptions, and people that are wrestling fans know that, like, that guy Mankind, I forgot his real name, but that guy's
Mick
super
Foley.
smart. I had a
No, there are a lot of guys that actually wrestlers are super duper
I had a
smart.
long conversation, and this gentleman was super smart. The old 2x4 hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Duggan's dope, man.
Yeah,
Is he still alive?
I don't know.
I mean, about 15 years ago when I talked to him, he was old
Yeah.
then, and like wrestling put a toll on his body. But
He's alive, 66 years old.
smart dude, lives in like Titusville or something.
Yeah, I feel bad for him right now with everything going on because he's
Yeah.
one of those.
So
he's a generic, 2x4 American. So when he sees anybody doing anything bad with the flag, he gets mad.
But so can we say they're either dumb or smart nerd?
Yeah. It's
yeah.
like Caesar the dog.
But
one or the other. There's no gray area.
But an element of nerd in there. So you got
Ryan Cabrera is a nerd.
Yeah.
I met him on that cruise ship.
Yeah, he's nerdy.
yeah.
He's
I guess
nice. He's
musician.
super nice.
He's a washed up pop star, but he's nice. But
Yeah,
he
yeah.
is a nerd.
Yeah. So maybe I'm trying.
God, we got to think of a better term to use other than washed up. It's so negative.
Yeah. Well,
There's gotta be another one because-
Less popular.
Former pop star. I mean, he's not a pop star anymore.
He still performs.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
do a lot of people that are not relevant.
Well, I don't think you'd lose that.
Yeah.
I don't think you lose it just because you're maybe not as popular or you had your time. I don't think you become a former.
Yeah.
If you're still performing pop music and you hit
But you're not a star.
the highest level, well, you were. So once you were, are you always?
No.
So
Not
you
like
take
the
that
president.
So you take that away?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you.
I don't know. I don't do that really. If you've attained a certain level, I kind of goes
People
with the
fall
territory
off.
for me. Well, yeah,
Can
but
you
I mean,
be
you
former
expect that, right?
star Ryan Cabrera?
That's what I said.
Let's go back to
No, I think you say entertainer at that point.
Cabrera's cruise, right?
Yeah.
So wasn't he gonna do another cruise? And then we were like,
Yeah.
what?
Why? Yeah.
Because
He only got like 30 people on the last
yeah,
one.
so you would think he would be like, this is not, because the way you make money on these cruises, it's fairly simple. It's like, all right, the cruise company gives you a discount if you mass book cabins, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
then,
it was the next one was supposed to happen this past February, but of course,
Yeah. So
Yeah, it
why?
got
How did he
postponed.
even get to do, like, or
I don't know,
want to
man.
do another one?
I don't know.
So, because, okay, the last cruise we went on, the Ryan Cabrera cruise, we talked about it, like 30 people were on there with him. So he couldn't have made
well, a lot
any
more
money.
people signed up for it, but he had a bigger roster, remember? And
Yeah,
then
it started dwindling.
and then those
yeah.
people kept
But-
dropping off, other
Yeah.
entertainers, to when then it just ended up being Ryan Cabrera and some magician that
Yeah.
no one had ever heard of.
Because even so, then also the cruise company gives you perks for how many cabins you book. There's a thing called travel credits, and then you could put those towards free rooms.
Well, the plan though worked. The plan, they thought they had a lot of people, so they did
Right.
get all the incentives and everything, and they had booked their block. But once that block starts dwindling down, then they start taking things away.
Well,
Yeah.
you take away all those incentives,
which is
yeah.
why his entertainment kind of lineup started to dwindle even more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is that once the first one is a total bust and you didn't make any money because it's impossible unless they built in thousands of dollars per person, and so even the 30 people that went.
Which they do, by the way. But those cruises that are like for musicians and stuff, the prices of them are
Well,
outrageous.
a lot more expensive than our
Yeah.
fun fee or whatever we
100%.
tack on.
Yeah, well, yeah, $50 a person, but are they doing $1,000 a person? I don't think it's that much,
don't
right?
know.
I don't know. I was
Yeah.
looking at a punk rock cruise and it was like
Couple $100
$1,000 more.
more,
No,
yeah.
it was
Oh,
like
wow.
it was like $800 or $900 more.
Yeah, but those entire cruise ships, there's a different tack. Like because that's a 6-man cruise. I talked to the company.
They get like you're
And-
getting access to shows.
They're doing a lot more staging and stuff. With these, like you're just tagging on to another boat. The same thing as we do. I imagine it's the same.
And I think that's
thing.
what Ryan Cabrera's cruise was attempting to do. So in theory, when it was, I think the reason people were initially backing out was because of severe weather, right?
I don't know.
Of theirs, I think it was like weather was going to be bad or something. And then he had like the Dan band booked.
For the one that
And-
we were on?
Yeah, and then
Well, he had Nick Swartzen.
and he
had
canceled.
he canceled. And then there was another musician, I don't remember, that was pretty big that canceled. And we're like,
I'm guessing they canceled because no one was booking.
That's what I think.
And then, but that's like if we did the Tom and Dan cruise and the first one, yeah, there's always an option. It's a gamble and it's unsuccessful. And we're like, okay, we did this cruise. We had to come out of pocket from this because
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
I don't think Ryan did, though. I think that was whoever
Yeah,
the promoter,
or
paid
whatever.
him.
But yeah, maybe he got a free cruise out of it. But it's like you're gonna be motivated to do another one for.
We don't know their deal.
I know.
So, I mean, I would imagine if he's going to do another one, he's getting something out of it. He ain't just doing it because he likes the guy.
I know.
Or
Doesn't
maybe
make
he
any
is.
sense.
Maybe it's his brother. Maybe his brother's the promoter and he does it as a favor.
Maybe, yeah. It's got to be something weird because it doesn't make any financial sense that he just keeps doing these things. That
So
are
they've been
failures.
dating like a year or more.
well, they met in October, and rumors are that they started dating around this February. So
Oh,
right
okay,
around when
so
he
it's-
was supposed to go on this cruise,
Okay.
they started
oh, man,
dating.
I could have met Alexa Bliss. That would have
Yeah.
been amazing.
Well, ours would have been in April, not in February.
Oh,
this year.
that's true. I'm always once I've been with Ryan, I want to be with him forever.
All right.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, yeah,
I wonder if any charges actually, because I always wonder that, like when someone makes a threat on social media, how effective it is to actually report it. Will anything actually be done?
It used to not be the case, but they changed the rules, like stalking and threat rules, and made like social media.
Like, are they going to track this guy down from Twitter? Probably not, right?
I think they
Maybe because they're a celebrity. But if it was like me,
no, I think if
I
you
don't know.
you
Things sort of
threat-
changed after people have actually been murdered and
Right.
hurt.
But
you
it
know, like
it took a long time
Yeah.
for them to like change the stalking rules and stuff. But there were a lot of people that were killed by crazy people, and then they tried
Yeah.
to report that they couldn't do anything about it. But I'm not sure how much they investigate like random Twitter threats.
yeah.
we should ask Bus.
I know that they take down accounts though, because I had one that
Yeah.
I told you about.
Yeah, if
and,
you threaten
and-
someone though.
And honestly, the next day, like that thing was handled swiftly with a letter from Twitter saying,
Don't do that.
Yeah, or well, it was to me saying, "We apologize for the inconvenience. Please continue to monitor this. We have taken care of it." You know, like they drew a line in the sand, and for a company where I don't even know if humans actually work there, it was
Yeah.
pretty damn quick. So,
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back with more at Corporate Time. Welcome back to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. On the line with us is our very good friend. Now, there's been a bit of a debate if we're going to keep his name Friendly Ray Chenley or if we're going to morph it into Beefcake Ray.
Beefcake Ray.
Beefcake Ray.
But that's
yeah.
only when he's wearing casual clothes.
Yeah, he's very casual today, ladies and gentlemen, from the Kramer Law Firm. It's our good friend, Friendly Ray Chenley.
How you guys doing?
Good, man. Real good. Thanks for joining us via Skype. Now, would you rather be Beefcake Ray or do you like Friendly Ray Chenley?
I like the idea of an alter ego. You know, I show up to work, suit and tie, and I'm very friendly. But
Clark
then,
Kent.
you know, I come down to my casual
Yeah.
T-shirts and
Ray!
become beef. Oh, I love it.
But I imagine Beefcake Ray has like a 5 o'clock shadow, kind of like remember when Hulk Hogan went to the NWA and he started dyeing his
Hollywood Hogan.
weird 5 o'clock
Yeah,
shadow.
Yeah.
He's unrecognizable in a Tom and Dan t-shirt.
And he would strum his
You guys
guitar.
can barely see it, but I didn't shave today just for you guys.
Look
Working
at
on my
that.
5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah,
You've been caked. I don't know.
We'll work on the
I'll
slogan.
work on the
Yeah.
slogan for you.
all right.
Yeah, I need that sent to my phone so that way I can send that to my wife.
We're gonna have another baby soon.
Big beef.
Don't say big beef.
Big beef Ray?
We don't want to misrepresent anything, guys. We don't do
Okay.
that.
So Beefy R.
No, that is the worst one.
Beefy RT.
Oh,
I got it.
No, I don't know.
I got it. I got your name.
Okay.
You're now messing with RT Beefs. You're RT Beef. I'm RT Beef.
You can find it at Piggly Wiggly. They're next to the RC Cola.
So RT, what do we got today? What you want to talk about something?
He's got the meats.
I've got some really good, insightful questions from our listeners.
I want to apologize for those questions. I asked the BDMs in the
Oh,
group
God,
if they
yeah.
could send me some questions, and you know how they are.
Sit or stand? Do do poo poo pee pee tampon fart fart.
They want to do that and then just attack someone that left the group.
They did. That was one of the questions.
Yeah. Attack! Get them.
Well, I thought these were fantastic questions,
All right,
Sam. So
all
I must admit, you were sifted through all of them and found the really good ones.
Okay.
So I'll kind of start with what I consider to be probably the most on-topic one, which is what happens if you get sick at work from COVID. Are they, I'm assuming being your employer, responsible for providing you pay while you're recovering? I think that the prevailing knowledge right now is that workman's comp may be covering some of these claims. We're encouraging all of our clients that have employees to make sure that they take the proper precautions, because the last thing you want to be found is negligent in protecting your employees or your customers. And so, what I would suggest, if anybody does get sick from COVID and they can trace it to their place of employment, is to try to make a claim through workman's comp. It's going to make sure your bills are paid as far as your medical bills. Maybe give you some, money for, time that you're not working. Also, it's going to possibly give you a little bit of flexibility, with your employer, and maybe working out some arrangements where maybe you can work from home and stuff like that, because, at that point, they don't want to further infect the rest of your workplace by you coming in sick. So, I think there's a lot of reasons why you're going to want to bring it up to your employer and maybe run it through work comp.
Can I be held negligent? Let's say I get
Always.
COVID and I come here into work and I just keep it to myself and I just go about my business.
Well, and so, we haven't really talked much about that, and I haven't really seen much literature about that. But I mean, you're almost moving beyond negligent at that point, almost to a willful decision to not tell people, knowing that you might subject them to, this disease that spreads pretty rapidly, and you might be dinged with some type of intentional conduct. But I mean, at a minimum, it could be negligent, right? You failed to warn people, and they're in your area, and there's a duty to do so, and so I mean, negligent, probably, absolutely. Whether it's intentional, I mean. Do you know that you have COVID? I mean, do you have a positive COVID test?
Right.
I didn't say that. You said that.
Right. Haven't there been, like, in the past with, like, HIV, haven't there been people that have been liable for spreading HIV? The fact that they knew they had it and then they had, like, unprotected sex, and then they...
Do you have HIV?
Haven't they been charged with, like, a manslaughter or something? Like, there's been famous cases like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, it's not just HIV, the herpes is another big one that comes up fairly frequently. And
I'm sorry, Ray.
Just the name.
When someone says herpes, I laugh.
Yeah.
When
somebody says herpes,
I don't know
I
if
think of
herpes is a funny
burpees,
thing.
and then I think of CrossFit, and then I think of yoga pants, and then I get horny.
herpes is one
That's
of
the way my brain
that should
works.
be a negative dissociation. You should hear herpes and be opposite.
No, seriously, that's
Right.
how my brain works. It's like herpes to burpees, burpees to yoga pants to horny.
No,
Oh, no, it's herpes to burpees, burpees to CrossFit, CrossFit to yoga pants to horny.
okay,
I'm very simple.
Have you guys watched that show with The Rock,
No.
the Titan Games?
No.
Is it like American Gladiators?
It's American Gladiator-esque in that, it's a competition of really buff athletic people, and then they have kind of host people that you go up against at the very end. Anyway, highly recommend it. Lots of yoga pants, but that's not why you watch it. You watch it for
Friendly
The Rock.
Ray.
Yeah,
My
that's
God.
That's RT Beef talking.
Yeah,
It is RT
that's
beef.
not Friendly Ray. That's RTB. Friendly Ray loves PBS. I watch a couple of great educational shows on there, especially that Mark Twain Award with Dave Chappelle. That was phenomenal. But RT Beeps, he likes XNXX.
Ray, another something that's also COVID related I wanted to ask you about. Along the same lines, hasn't there been, like, I read a story about an employee that just told, like, he worked for some retail store or something like that, so some grocery store, and he said that he had COVID because he didn't want to go to work, like hungover or something.
Sure.
And then they had to like sanitize, send everybody home.
Oh, my
and
God.
then it turns out he didn't have it, and then they're like suing him for like lost wages and like the money it took to sanitize the store. Like that could happen as well, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's quite at the level of yelling bomb at a movie theater, but I think it falls along the same lines, right? If there's something that you do and you're doing it intentionally to incite panic, and obviously if you're doing it at a place of business and they suffer financial damages, you might be in trouble both criminally, right, for inciting panic, but also civilly for interfering with your employer's business relations. And I mean, I think there was a story, I think it was out of South Carolina, where somebody was coughing on produce, and I think they ended up getting arrested, but then they also got civilly sued for intentionally coughing on produce. I don't know if they were playing a prank, trying to be funny or something, but yeah, I mean, it's serious stuff. I don't recommend you do it. A lot of people are taking this COVID stuff really seriously, and then if you watch the news at all, I mean, people are getting aggressive with the way they expect you to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, and whether it's wearing a mask or getting too close to people. I mean, going back to what we talked about before we were on the air, I mean, people are really truly terrified right now, and it's probably not a good time to play pranks.
Yeah.
Is it, or is the mask...
Usually it's just crazy people.
Is the mask much like the condom? If I wear 2 of them, am I
Safer.
increasing the... thank you. I've heard that before, too.
Yeah. That's what I
RTB,
do.
if I'd like to get to the bottom of the double condom, double mask, if I wear a double condom, I tell my health teacher told me that it could make the bottom condom easier to break. Could the same be said for the double mask, RT?
I actually was at the courthouse on Friday of last week, and I did see a gentleman wearing 2 masks. One was like the N95 mask, and then on top of that was one of those like medical grade, cloth masks. Yeah. He looked very safe and secure, although I think he was struggling to breathe.
Right.
It's funny because there's a lot of similarities. Speaking of the condom thing, when the government and everybody's like, you wear condoms, and people with the same thing are like, what? They're like, they didn't want to do it, and so it's funny because everybody acts the same thing. Like people get mad.
I don't know about you guys with the masks. It doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
With the mask.
Honestly, I'd be more mad about the condoms. If you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's because that is actually impeding a pleasure.
It's impeding the impeding.
As opposed to the pain in the ass it is to wear the mask at a grocery store or whatever. Like, the condom's a bigger deal if you think about it. Technically, you're taking away more of the person's enjoyment.
The good times.
Yeah. Then all right, mask or no mask at Publix. How much is that decreasing your shopping pleasure?
But you think about how many hours of pain and suffering you go through as a parent. Those 5-10 minutes of wearing a condom, not nearly as bad.
Hold on, RTB, 5-10 minutes.
RTB.
Beef gets in and gets out.
1-2 beef.
I was going the opposite. I was like, that's a long.
No, I thought he was going quick.
No.
This is like a rescue mission. We're getting in and we're getting out. The helicopter skids are barely touching the jungle ground. You know what I'm saying? We're getting in and get out.
I mean, 10 minutes of beef. That's
10 minutes of beef?
That's a lot. I mean, you try. Just go.
That's what we're changing the name of the show to. Is 10 minutes of beef.
Do jumping jacks for 10 minutes.
Oh,
you winded.
It's bad.
Yeah.
I can't do jumping jacks for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, Tommy Bomb only got
Tommy Bomb.
2 to 3.
Where'd that come from?
Tommy Bomb.
So the next question we need to talk about.
Sorry.
As a nice peaceful transition, is the difference between a will and a trust.
Okay.
I get this question all the time from people. The first is what a will is. A will is just a set of instructions, okay? Most people think that a will allows you to avoid a probate. That's not what it does.
True,
Okay.
yeah.
Instead, it's the opposite, right? It's when your case goes to probate because somebody passed away, the will's then given to the court, and the court knows what your instructions are. So they want, Tom to get 10%, Dan to get 90%.
There you go.
And that's really what your will is going to do. And so it's just a set of instructions. Most estate planning attorneys are going to sit down with you and try to talk to you about ways to avoid a probate. And one of those ways is oftentimes a trust. What a trust is, it's a fictitious entity, right? So it's like setting up, a business. It exists on paper, and then what you need to do is you need to make it exist in real life. And so a lot of times what people will do is open up bank accounts, title assets in the name of the trust, and that gives the trust some life.
Yeah.
Trust can be separated by living trust or testamentary trust, which means they come to exist after you pass. They can be set up for specific purposes. So if you've got somebody with special needs, you can set up a special needs trust. If you've got land, you can have a land trust. You can have firearms trust or gun trust. So there's all kinds of reasons for trust. And so, what I tell everybody is, the options for trust are almost infinite. And so if it's something that you're interested in, whether it's just preparing a simple estate or having a trust prepared, it's really important to go through those specifics with your attorney and say, this is what I'm concerned about. These are what my goals are. And then, let the attorney kind of guide you towards what's the best tool for your job.
Ray, let me ask you about this because I'm familiar with this, and I will tell you that if you just have a will and you let it go to probate, you could be asking for a lot of problems. If anybody can test that, usually lawyers then get involved. No offense, but
real messy.
It could cost you a bunch of money with people fighting over the probate, because probate basically opens it up for all your creditors to, anybody you owe money to, anybody that has a claim on your assets or they want, so a trust, to my knowledge, once you have the trust, now it's a lot more money to set up, but say like I have a trust in my and if I die, it goes all to Tommy Max. Like instantly upon my death, everything gets transferred into the trust that Tommy Max owns, and boom, that's it. Nobody can then, I guess you could always contest things, but way harder contest a trust. You don't have to get the government involved. You don't have to open up probate. It just, everything instantly gets transferred, and that's it. You don't have to involve the government or anybody else.
So you got two things really right there. One is you maintain control, and you get to dictate where you want things to go and when you want them to go there, right? So you may not want to give your kids, a car or boat today, but maybe when they turn 21 or 18, you say, here you go, here's an asset for you. That's very common in trust. The other thing you got right is, you're not getting the government involved, right? So a big reason that we suggest trust to people is for privacy. There's not, that little old man. I like to go to the scene from the movie Carrot Top. I don't know if you remember it, where the little old man is reading the will. That's kind of what I envision when I think of, wills.
Yeah.
And, you don't have that kind of public setup. You don't have a court or a judge making, looking into your finances. You don't have creditors making claims. It's private. And so it's kept internally. And like you said, there can be lawsuits towards those things, but it's not very common. As far as costs go, I mean, I don't want to say it's an insignificant amount of money. You might spend, $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000, but my initial fee for probates is usually starting at $2,000, $2,500.
Right.
So you look at it that way, you're saving your family money. I mean, that's really the key. You're saving your family money by preparing a trust.
But so two things you could have, like if you have a bunch of money to leave someone, you could actually write out in the trust how that money gets distributed. And like you said, like if you want to leave it to your kids, but you want to make sure that they're responsible, you could put in there like, hey, it gets like X amount gets, like the final portion gets less when they're 35 or whatever. Or you can even have, I know a buddy of mine, his grandfather was rich, and then he left it in a trust, and a lawyer actually oversaw the trust.
Yeah, manages it. Yeah.
And then he would have to ask like the lawyer, like, hey, I'm going to buy a house. This is where the money from. And the lawyer would distribute the money to him, even though it's his money. Technically, it's under his name, but the lawyer actually, like the granddad, made sure that someone was like
a guide.
So a guide,
Yeah.
so he didn't waste it, because that's another thing too. You leave a couple $100,000 to your teenage kids, they're gonna blow it, and they're gonna probably ruin their damn lives. So
Destroyed.
It could be actually hurtful to leave a bunch of money to some kid.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, those are all really good points. And, sometimes you do have professionals manage the trust, especially, when you see some of these larger trusts or, where you're talking about generational wealth potentially. You're seeing a lot of professionals that are going to be managing those trusts. The one caveat that I would say is, it could conceivably be the beneficiary's money that the trustee is managing, so that's the person managing it. But more often than not, it's for the benefit of the beneficiary, right? And so what that means is, and I'll use your example of your boys, you've got two kids, neither of them really get everything until they reach a certain age. Let's call it 35.
They have everything, I assure you.
Well, it might be time for them to go to college. They're both going to be very studious, and they need, books, or they need, money for room and board.
Yeah.
And so the trustee generally is going to have some discretion in making those distributions as needed. And it's not necessarily something you have to spell out. You just say, hey, I trust Uncle Dan to make sure that the boys get taken care of.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, never trust Uncle Dan.
Uncle Dan.
Uncle Dan's gay.
How much money do we have, boys? $100,000? All right. Uncle Dan's got you.
Going to the track.
Yeah.
Gonna
Let's
make it
go have some
200
fun.
Yeah. Uncle
You
Dan.
guys watch these videos while Uncle Dan uses some of your money to have a little fun.
Why does Uncle Dan have a bunch of copper in the back of his truck? That's not a good time.
Never talk about Uncle Dan's copper. What did I tell you?
And his rusted out old Chevy.
We wish our dad was still here.
Well, I don't. He ran our company into the ground. That'll be the last you ever talk about your dad in this house. You want me out on the street?
Dark place now.
You want me to kill you like I killed him? Oops.
Man, usually all Lion King on him.
Ray, any more questions?
I'm the tiniest scar.
We got time for one more.
All right, I got one more question for you guys. The question was, can I explain qualified immunity? I don't know if you guys are familiar with the concept of qualified immunity. It's been coming up a lot with these police-involved shootings, and obviously, with the situation that's going around across the world, really, as we look at justified use of force with law enforcement.
Sure.
It's something that's been a lot talked about a lot in the news. And so, it's a doctrine that's been developed through the law. And what it's basically designed to do is protect governmental entities and their employees. So most notably, as we're talking about in context, is law enforcement. And really what it does is it protects government officials that are, maybe make mistakes, cause damages while in performance of their duties. It's qualified because it's not absolute, right? So, an idea of an absolute immunity is, you see it on TV sometimes where they're like, I want our immunity agreement. And it's like, well, you can do whatever you want. You can murder somebody, but because you're cooperating with the FBI, we're going to, wave a wand and you're not going to go to jail for anything like that. That's kind of more of an absolute immunity, even though there's conditions on stuff like that too.
Yeah. Don't like diplomats and stuff from other countries have some sort of immunity or our laws?
Yeah, and that's through treaties. So again, it's just different bodies of law where we recognize that, people should be protected, and the idea is this, right? The concept is we don't want, and I'll use a firefighter as an example because maybe it's a less inflammatory example. We don't want a firefighter to be charged with breaking and entering because they kicked in the wrong door because they got a phone call and said that there's a fire at,
Right.
10th Street. They kick in the door and now they're getting sued for breaking and entering, right? Or for damaging the property. We don't want it to be something like that. So what it does is it kind of makes a shift of responsibility. And so the big argument in favor of qualified immunity is it allows officers to conduct their jobs without fear of being sued and suffering financial damages, and it also protects the public, right? Because when the cities and counties get sued, then conceptually it's all of our money that goes to that lawsuit.
Gotcha.
The argument against this is it's real simple, right? It creates a lack of accountability.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's where people are really having a hard time, is because the way we've interpreted this idea of a qualified immunity, specifically as it relates to government officials and law enforcement, has been very broad.
Sure.
And so, there are, exceptions, so like an example of this would be, and this is, I think, one of the ones where you've got a broad definition, you've got the application of a broad definition, and then you've got obviously the possibility for abuse. So we have an exception for a mistaken belief of fact, right? So this is the example of somebody points a silver, object at a cop on the street. The cop shoots that person 10 times. That silver object was a flashlight.
Yeah.
Right. And so the way the qualified immunity has been read was, well, that was a mistake of fact, and that was something that would be reasonable given the circumstances of time and distance and, whatever other surrounding circumstances there might have been, so that person gets a free pass. And that's where you're seeing this disconnect, is the way that we've interpreted this privilege has been so broadly construed that, it's like, oh, I got an offender bender. Well, they must have stopped too soon, right? They must have brake checked me. It becomes almost just a simple excuse. And so that's the way people are interpreting it, at least. I don't want to put myself in the shoes of law enforcement. They've got an incredibly difficult job, and they're under a microscope every day, not just because of social media and cell phone cameras, but because of the fact that they are there to protect and serve the public. And so, they've got a lot of accountability, and that makes their job very tough. And it doesn't make it any easier when you've got politicians and news people that are trying to tear down law enforcement and make it look like they're all bad guys. That being said, there probably is some degree of lawyers needing to clarify things, courts
clean
needing
it up,
to
right?
interpret things.
And you guys have to do that periodically. You have to go back through and tidy things up, right? Tighten up the wordage and maybe, drill it down a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of the frustration, and this is me talking, not necessarily something I've read or seen. I think part of the frustration is the speed at which it gets looked at, right? So, the initial kind of idea around, we're going to hold law enforcement, accountable, it's not going to be an absolute immunity, started back in, I think it was in 1800s, if I'm not mistaken. And then it was looked at again in the civil rights movement. So now you're looking at, 60, almost 70 years later, and you're saying, okay, well, let's look at it again.
Yeah.
Well, obviously the world has changed pretty drastically in that time. And, people do need to be accountable. And, I think that what people really need to know is that it's not just, I'm going to say that there's going to be change for the sake of saying there's going to be change because there's an election coming up in November. I think people really need to feel it and see it and observe it, and that's going to take time.
Yeah.
So, the idea of qualified immunity, I don't think it goes anywhere. I think that at the end of the day, most people are looking at dollars and cents. And I think that anytime you give a person a deadly weapon, whether it's a vehicle, whether it's a gun, there's going to be cause for potential unlimited liability there. And I just don't see that part of the law changing too quickly.
We need to take the human element out of it. We need RoboCop.
Yeah, we need RoboCop.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah.
I'd buy that for
Did you see that movie, I, Robot? The robots at the end end up killing a lot of people.
Well, yeah, but that's the movie. I'm just saying, a robot cop, will literally handle every situation.
That's when RT Beef comes out, kills all the robots.
Yeah.
But then there's that.
Help, the robots are killing
Bring out
us,
the
RT Beef.
guns.
And RoboCop, they bring out that advanced RoboCop.
The one that kills
the
one that's
claymation.
claymation and it mows down around everybody sitting around the
conference room,
boardroom.
yeah.
Oh my god, that scene scarred me as a
Yeah.
kid.
Feels like the scientists that put together that presentation are gonna get fired. There's
There's nobody else to fire.
Yeah.
It's like there should have been a button to stop that or
Yeah.
something.
And why did
Well,
Robo?
that's always the case, right? You just need to have one button to shut down all the robots, so when they all eventually go bad, because they will.
Yeah.
That's what Hollywood has taught us, is that all the robots will eventually turn against us and kill us.
If there's anything I learned, it's that RoboCop's seemingly perfectly smooth human face would have been mangled and dying.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the lady who had her face ripped off by the chimpanzee because she wouldn't buy it wine. And that is a hard thing to keep nice when you've had it mangled up.
Yeah. Wasn't his whole body burned, but just his face was
Yeah.
perfect?
Yeah.
Smooth face.
Yeah, what'd you have on your face? I had a piece of tinfoil. I got lucky. A piece of tinfoil blew right under my face. I got lucky.
It was his moisturizing resin.
Yeah, exactly. What do you use?
Be like, there's not even one scar on your smooth baby
I
face.
use Clinique.
You don't even have to shave now?
No,
Like, you're
no.
so smooth.
It burned the hair follicles out, but then it smoothed my face down.
All right, Ray. OneFirmForLife.com.
Today, what are we talking about? Wills? Where there's a will,
There's
a Ray.
Uh,
Where there's
I like that.
and where there's a trust, RT Beef busts. A nut
no.
in them
We're gonna
guts.
do all of our slogans from now on.
No.
RT Beef busting a nut in
No.
them guts.
No.
Butler laughed. And if I can get one butler, I can get 100 butlers. I know that.
We don't want 100 butlers.
That's to counteract
That's
the
not
robot.
true.
They're going to
That-
fight
that
the
was
robot.
me.
It's RoboCops versus butlers. Who wins? I'm Team Dobson.
All right, Ray. It was great talking to you. We appreciate
Likewise.
your time.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon, man.
I appreciate it. You guys take care. Stay safe.
You
All right,
too, man.
take it
Be
easy.
good. Stay safe out there, as Tom Van says. Friendly Ray Chunley, the Kramer Law Firm, one firm for life.
Look at him spending money at our website and buying shirts.
That hurt my heart. He shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, he's supporting us.
He's got the
Well, a
money.
good business would take every single client we have, and when new products roll out, we'd send them everything we have and go, appreciate your business.
When
But
can
what
we
do we
get
do?
a RT beef shirt?
What do we do when the boxes get here? I'm like, give it him new shirt. I want a new shirt.
And then all our sponsors are like, I want a shirt. Buy yourself.
We have a lot more of those gaiters that people use for
Yeah.
masks, and I took like 70 of them.
we don't even use it.
I hoard them like toilet paper.
for nothing.
Tom's like,
I'm gonna wear it as a tube top.
Tom's like, I thought it.
What?
Sorry that
What happened? What
you
happened?
didn't hear what she said.
What?
She's gonna
RT
wear.
beef.
She's gonna wear
Oh.
the gaiter as a tube
Oh.
top, and I had a mini stroke.
Oh,
I had a mini stroke.
Don't yell tubes.
Those are untiable tubes.
Big old
I'm gonna-
tube.
Don't say big old tubes. I can't say busting nuts into guts, and you can
No.
say tie the tubes.
No. All right. Let's
Get out of here.
We're
Is it the end? Where are we
I'm,
at?
I'm leaving. You guys can come back. I'm gone.
I'm bored.
Let's take a quick break. I like when we're in court and then Samantha's like, and their attorney was on the show.
line. And they started calling him RT Beef and say he was busting the nuts in the guts.
And then we just look over at the table. He's sitting there with us. the whole
But they get a Tom and Dan shirt on. But we're dressed in suits.
We're like,
Yeah.
RT Beef, it's suit time. We're going to jail.
And then you know how I get
Time for a suit.
Do you know
It's
how I
time for
win?
suits.
This is how I win. I gently I'm on trial, and I sit there and I just pat my legs and I go beef, beef, beef. And then everybody in the
The
courtroom
whole
is like
crowd.
beef, beef, and then the jury beef, beef, beef.
Then the
beef,
judge.
beef, and he's like, "Stop it! Everyone in jail."
Order!
It didn't
Order!
go well. It didn't go well.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's take a break, and we'll be back more at Corporate Time. Welcome back to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan.
We don't have too much time, but Travis Butler set this up. He's buddies with this gentleman. We had him on the show a while back to talk wrestling, but he was just on WWE Raw. Wrestler Mikey Spandex. How you doing, Mikey?
What's going on? I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good,
Good.
man. It's good to talk to you. And, I thought when Butler was talking to us about setting this up so we could talk to you, I thought it would be really cool to kind of find out from your perspective, here is I'm a big wrestling fan, was watching it last night. I always have watched wrestling, but it's one of those things where the crowd typically is extremely important to the product, and we've always heard for decades about like the pop and, of the crowd and the push and, was the crowd behind, they turned on this, that, and the other thing. How is it now for you being a guy that we know locally that wrestles and, top tier, you're doing some NXT stuff with WWE. So how is it been kind of navigating wrestling in like COVID era?
COVID era wrestling is, I guess the best way to describe it is different. Like, it's obviously there's little to no crowd, and it's definitely not what I thought my first televised national TV match would be, and I guess nobody would have expected that for sure. So it's definitely something where you're so used to working with a crowd and appealing to a crowd and playing off and feeding off that kind of energy, and it's more of just finding that energy elsewhere and following what you're supposed to be following. It's super different. Like, you don't get that, like, you still get that high. You still get that wrestling high, but you're not getting it off the crowd. It's harder because it's more of like a self high. Like, you got to motivate yourself more than you do feeling it off the crowd.
Yeah, it seems difficult. Now, hopefully this makes you feel a little bit better, but since what I have been watching, I've really enjoyed, and I think the wrestling's been really, really good. You guys are putting on a damn fine show. The thing that's strange to me is that the entrance has always been such a big part of what you guys do, in the fact that it is the initial, it's the knock on the door for those of us that are viewers to let us know who's up next, and it's usually like that energy builds until the match, and that's the thing that to me has been like so difficult, is watching you guys enter the ring with literally nobody saying anything. It's just you and music.
Well, yeah, the entrance always sets the tone. I mean, granted, for me, for NXT, as an extra there, I didn't get an entrance, so I didn't have that feel, but like, I completely agree that the entrance sets the tone.
Yeah.
But they've found ways to do it. I guess for some wrestlers, obviously, the entrance is that moment. So, but like, if you've been watching NXT, I would say if anybody still sets that entrance tone recently, it's been Karrion Kross, because I mean, he's been a guy. He didn't enter NXT. Like, he's obviously been in the independent circuit and made his name through that. He's obviously a huge name as Killer Kross in the Indies. But when he entered NXT as Karrion Kross, he didn't debut until COVID went down. So he's only had an entrance with that. But like, his entrance sets the tone. Like, his entrance is incredible. It blows me away every time. But he's one that he didn't need a crowd reaction. Obviously, like, that guy it's incredible.
So, Mikey, I'm curious, because has this affected the pacing of your guys' matches? Because I imagine, just like a stand-up comedian, when you have your bit planned out, you're used to a certain pacing in the performance.
Yeah, the rhythm is everything, right?
Yeah, based on the crowd reaction, the laughter, and then you go back into the other jokes. So has that affected, like, have you talked to any veteran wrestlers that have done a couple of these with no crowd, and have they told you that, like, they tend to wrestle, like, the matches go faster or slower? How's the pacing affected?
I think if anything, it's slowed it down. Like, it's allowed us to have more time in matches. So you get to see more creativity in matches, whereas before we're so used to catering to a crowd, like, oh, the crowd's not reacting, let's not do this. Or, oh, the crowd is reacting, let's do this more. Where now it's more of like, I can do more without worrying. So it's kind of a blessing and a curse in a sense, where you can try something without worrying about the crowd reaction. And it's something that it's like you can do something that you've always wanted to do.
Yeah,
you know?
it's changed it for me as a viewer. I remember going through the phase, and I think Mikey will know exactly what I'm talking about. It was like where the crowd has always been an integral part of wrestling, right? But then there's, I want to say just recent times when I got back into wrestling, where the crowd would chant certain things, and they'd say like, "You deserve it," or and it would almost become distracting in a way, because I'm like, well, now the crowd, they think they're more important than these two guys
taking over the show
that are busting their ass in the ring. And then I started to hate it. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why I'm actually watching wrestling now, where I kind of dig it, because there's zero distractions.
For sure, yeah. There's a lot less distractions, and like the reactions are still pretty genuine. That what you see, but like it's definitely hushed a little more. I guess is the better way to put it.
Yeah, for sure.
Mikey, you guys know, you and Daniel know more about the history of wrestling, but I had heard that throughout like the history, like say Vince McMahon, or the writers, they want a particular character to turn heel and be the bad guy, right? So I think maybe this Macho Man or someone where they were trying to make this character bad and be a heel, but the audience wouldn't have it, and the audience would cheer for this guy instead of boo him. And no matter what he did, and like what villain thing that he would try to portray, that
they still put him over.
They still would. They wouldn't. The audience, and then that was something they couldn't foresee. And then they just from then on out, they were just like, oh well, we can't turn this guy heel, and they wouldn't have known that without the crowd being there because. The writers basically they wanted to write the story that the crowd wouldn't accept, and so the crowd was the ultimate decision maker.
So are you saying they lose that now?
So do you think that will be a problem? Obviously, eventually you'll have crowds, but like where you don't know if something's working. For like a guy's turns heel, but maybe at home they're watching and they're like, nah, I don't take it, but they don't know that. The wrestlers don't know because there's no one to tell them.
I mean, that's kind of true. I mean, the crowd does do a lot of the determining as far as whether or not someone's good or bad sometimes, because sometimes you can like their stuff and they'll still do it and they'll cheer for it, and sometimes they do stuff they don't like and they boo for it. I mean, one of the perfect examples to ever think about or talk about is, like, at least a modern-day one is the New Day. Like, when they first started, they were a crowd. Like, it was an idea that, like, the original execution of it sucked. And they even talk about, the New Day talks about, they have their own podcast. They talk about that, how they were originally supposed to be these babyface, up-going kind of guys. And they talked about how they went to, I think they were in Switzerland. They did like a world tour. And they were working with Cesaro and Tyson Kidd for that kind of situation. But Cesaro is from Switzerland. So when they went to Switzerland, they were cheering for Cesaro and booing the New Day when they were writing it for the sense of it being the other way around.
Right.
So they literally, in the moment of, like, it's a funny moment to listen to in their podcast because Xavier Woods mentions it explicitly. He goes, we get out there and we're all sitting there getting ready to do our match, and we notice that they're booing the New Day, them, and cheering for Cesaro and Kidd, where Cesaro and Kidd were supposed to be the faces, the heels in that match.
The heels, yeah.
And New Day was supposed to be the faces, and they all look at each other and they're like, switch. So they had to call an entire new match on the fly with the New Day being the heels instead, and Cesaro and Kidd being the faces, because that's what the crowd was going for.
Yeah. So that's an interesting example,
it is interesting,
too.
Yeah.
The crowd can have an influence in the actual writing and the performance. Which
it could if this went on longer than it is, and they're peppering crowd back. Like watching last night, you could see they put people in kind of like these little squares with masks on, and
Groups,
it's like there's only like maybe 6 to 12 people per side. Now it does help, but I think you're kind of onto something. You could, if you're drinking your own Kool-Aid and thinking your gimmick's good, as a writer, I'm saying, as an organization, and you really have no way to truly judge it, you could be possibly throwing heaps of money and a shot at something that's just not going to work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the big thing now too is it's social media. Like, that's going to be the huge determiner now in this kind of era where they have to constantly look at social media. At least that's my prediction.
You're
going to have to look like, did this work? I don't know. Let's go check Twitter and see what the fans say and what the comments say to see if something works, because it's hard to tell at this point.
I wonder if there'll be like someone, a social media person, be like, they're not buying it. Turn heel. Like telling the rest of the set, like, oh.
He's got an earpiece in.
Yeah.
Well, you would have to wait to film it next time because everything's pre-taped now, too.
Yeah, they definitely.
So you can't really do it live and on the spot.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get back to that. But Hey, Mikey, thanks so much for your time, man.
Yeah.
If people want to find you, I'm on your Instagram, Mikey Spandex 1992. You can follow that. Where else could people go and help you out, or possibly, I guess buy a shirt?
Well, obviously, Mikey Spandex 1992. That's the Instagram, and then you can also follow me on Twitter at Mikey Spandex. So those are my main two. I use my Facebook for personal, so I don't really have friends on there or anything like that. But if you want to follow my tag team on Facebook, we are Task Force on Facebook.
Yeah, look for Task Force.
Well, Mikey, we'll be talking to you again. We'll kind of check in with you from time to time, see how wrestling's going and what the wrestling industry is doing. So you can be our correspondent for professional wrestling.
Absolutely. I always look forward to y'all's calls. I love it.
Hey, stay safe, man, and good luck with everything, okay?
You guys, you too.
All right, man. That is Butler's boyfriend, Mikey Spandex.
He's cute.
Yeah, he is a good-looking man.
He's also a high school counselor.
Yeah, he's a good dude. You
Yeah.
can just kind of tell the guy's, gonna be okay.
Yeah.
How cool is that if in your high school
cool.
it's your counselor and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
you tune into WWE
Yeah.
Raw and you're like, wait a minute, that's my counselor.
I mean, that's Wheelhouse of cool.
Yeah.
I think Task Force is a champion, or they were. But yeah, he's living his dream, and he actually, I believe he has something for under Pro Wrestling Tees. If you're a wrestling guy, you can go there and Google Mikey Spandex and help him out a little bit. We do have to take a break, and or is that it?
No, we'll take a break.
Okay.
We'll be right back with more Corporate Time. Welcome back to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan.
We were laughing about we were talking Hamilton during the break, and then Samantha's like, the Hamilton they're releasing, or you said it, yeah.
Well, I wanted to know. I said, does the Hamilton that they're releasing on Disney Plus, which what are they doing at the 3rd?
Yes.
Yeah. So and then everybody's like, it's going to break Disney Plus, and it's like, well, I don't know. I think they probably know how they figured out this internet thing by now.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was like, does that Hamilton show have a live studio audience?
Yeah.
Because we were just talking, a couple segments back to Mikey Spandex.
Yeah. Then Samantha said no. Then I said, I bet they pre-recorded it and they were sitting on the footage. So maybe it was live before COVID. They recorded. I don't even know why I said that. I had no idea whatsoever. I didn't
Then
read
why
it.
are you telling us something you don't know about?
I know. I think people do it all the time.
I
And
think
that's
you
the problem.
confused Butler. You told him that, and I think Butler's like, yeah, that's what I heard. And then like, you guys are like,
well, you know that's a lie. Butler told me something the other day. I'm like, do you know that? And he's like, I don't know. I just said that.
no, he did not.
Yeah.
What were you guys talking about?
I forgot what the hell it was, but Butler's like, oh,
He
yeah.
does that a lot.
You see, World War III popped off this morning. How about that?
I said something. He's like, oh, yeah, this is how it's done. I'm like, and then I stopped and I'm like, do you know that for certain? Or
Yeah.
and he's like, I just said
I
that.
assume so.
He says a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I was in the kitchen.
But everybody does that.
I was eating peanut butter pretzels. He's like, you eat too many of those, I'll make you gay. I was like, is that true? Who told you that? He goes, Tom told me that. There's all kinds of weird misinformation in the world now.
Is it like human nature just to answer a question you don't know?
Well, you don't want to not know stuff.
Yeah.
From what I am reading, it was shot over 3 days, and some of it so they pulled bits and pieces from different showings, some in front of audiences and some not. But it will not have any of the like audience sound audio.
Gotcha.
basically.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
The problem is if you admit that you will say something that you don't know the answer to and you'll just make it up to your wife, then she'll never believe anything you say forever. And then every time you say, this is the
like you're
the truth."
projecting a little bit.
Oh, no.
Do you remember the one that lost her confidence?
No, a long time ago, dude.
Does she remember? Because she's got a
I
good
think
memory.
It was probably a
If we
bunch of
called your
scenarios.
wife right now and said, what was the straw that broke the camel's back as far as you thinking your husband is pathological liar?
Not a liar. I'll say things
that aren't true.
I'll guesstimate something. Now, most of the things I guesstimate are true, I contend. But I have been wrong lots of times, obviously, and then now it's caused when I say
Wait
something.
a minute. I feel like the term. Okay, when you hire a contractor and he comes to your house, he looks at the tile and he says, "I'm going to give you an estimate on how much time and effort it's going to take me to do this plus product."
Mm-hmm.
A guesstimate, when you say I guesstimated, you're applying the same amount of attention to detail that an artisan craftsman like carpenter would do, but you're really just lying.
Well, no, I'm
Right? It's a lie.
No.
A guesstimate is a lie
No,
because
lying-
it's not based on facts, and you're not.
It's a guess.
No.
Thank you.
No, it's a guess based on
it's as
my
accurate as
calculation.
my daughter picking a duck at a carnival and turning it over to see what number or what star is on the bottom.
Okay,
of it.
you-
It's rando. The old ducks in a water pond.
For it to be a lie, you have to know that it's untrue what you're saying.
Yeah,
Well, you
but
also don't know that it is true.
That's true, but that's not a lie.
But you
That's
also
being wrong
you're
and your
also-
guesstimate.
You're also a man of percentages, and the percentage of things that you say wrong is.
I think I'd say more things right than wrong.
Man.
It'd be hard to really.
The irony of him
figure that
saying,
out.
I don't think it would be that hard. We
You
could
know-
do one show and pull all the things you say.
I'm sorry, a black hole just sucked my pants off because he said, I think percentage I get more right than wrong. And the irony of him getting that actual phrase wrong just sucked my pants right off, right down the black
I
hole.
could be wrong a whole show, but the average you have to take the mean of.
I could do that. That's
20
just gonna
years.
take a long
That's
time.
right, 20 years of work, and then see if I've been right more than wrong or wrong. More
We
than
got
right.
time. Can't go anywhere.
EJ, get
I'll
on it.
I'll go ahead and solve it. I've been wrong.
Okay, all right.
No.
All right, there it is.
No, I'd say you were probably more right than wrong. Aren't we all a little more right than wrong? That's why we're here. If we weren't, you'd see the signs on our lives.
Yeah.
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
Yeah.
We aren't the ones you got to worry about.
Yeah.
We all know we see the guy at the grocery store and you go, ooh, you got a lot of wrong.
Yeah.
Made a lot of bad choices.
I do contend that all you do is have to make 51% good choices in life to be successful, because it's just more good than bad, but not all good.
Yeah.
That's impossible. But more good than bad, to the point of it's just 1% more good
Well,
than
like
bad.
now you're
And
like,
it'll be-
like
at least
our-
you'll overtime.
Now you're like Chris, our he did the marathon or the Ironman. The Ironman, remember? 1% rule.
Oh yeah,
You just
well,
got to get 1% better when you try.
Every
1%
day,
better.
yeah.
1% better. We have a BDM that's doing
I
that
saw
with
that, yeah.
push-ups.
Yeah.
He's up to like I want to say 75 push-ups.
Yeah,
80 push-ups. That's a lot of push-ups.
I saw. I mean, in one go continuously.
That's a lot.
I question that. You're not doing 80 push-ups without.
That's
stopping.
a lot.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I puff out. If I don't think I can do it now. I can puff out like 40.
Yeah.
And then I start getting weak.
I'm up to like 60, but they're pretty fast.
Good for you, dude.
But they're fast and not 60.
Still,
slow
60's a
controlled.
lot though. If you can do 60, how many push-ups are you gonna do in one go?
10.
That's good.
Yeah, that is good. Most women have to go
it's
on their
just
knees.
Not, it's and plus you got the ultimate pull down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But although you have to just go down one.
Exactly. I don't have to go that far.
I mean, if you're judging to where your nips.
But
touch the ground.
but I do have very long appendages. So.
Yeah. You're tall. That
hurts you.
Yeah. Got to
You
chop
need
half
to-
my arms
You know
off.
who was the queen of push-ups? God bless her. It was Beth from Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Oh yeah.
She had the perfect push-up body.
Yeah.
You
So-
just-
Yeah.
While your husband's in the corner with just front teeth smoking a cigarette. You're at 72, Beth.
You're a millionaire, dog. Get some molars.
No
It's
molars.
It's not, I mean, nowadays with they have like really high, like the dentists of the stars. They can do it
Yeah, but
all
the dentists of the
in
stars
one
don't
day.
want to be poking around a Dog the Bounty Hunter's mouth. I'm sorry.
He's a millionaire,
star.
multi-millionaire.
Yeah, but he's not a star.
He's a star.
Yeah,
Dog the
but,
Bounty Hunter
but
is a
doesn't matter.
star.
He's got one thing that a lot of stars don't have, and that's bad breath.
Oh,
Guaranteed.
Mel
Dog-
Gibson is
Dog-
just as racist
Okay,
and
who's
bad
got the
breath.
stinkier breath? Dog the Bounty Hunter or Mel Gibson? Both slightly or horribly racist men.
yeah. I'm going Mel Gibson, man.
Over Dog's breath.
I don't know.
You got fresh smoke breath sitting in a Denali crushing an ice pipe, and you got old yellow tooth stinky breath beaver puppet Lamborghini. Which one do
I'm
you
going
want?
dog.
And Mel Gibson smoked too, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
they both.
Yeah,
My God.
Yeah. Mel Gibson's stinky old breath. I'm going
I
Mel
heard
Gibson.
if Mel Gibson and Dog the Bounty Hunter complete the circuit doing a fully nude 69, we all turn into mini cigarettes and the world blows up. It's like the spell is complete.
Mel Gibson got old Passion of the Christ stink breath. old nail breath.
I don't even know what that means. The guy's nickname is Dog. Dog the Bounty Hunter. It's got to be worse. And he's older than Mel Gibson.
Yeah, but Mel
Is
Gibson,
he?
Mel
Yeah.
Gibson got those old George Washington wooden teeth.
How much older is Dr.
2 years.
2 years
Oh,
old.
that's
What
gonna
He's
be
66.
That's gonna be a tough fight. Why'd you say it like you said it like the pace salsa guy? New York City, 66.
almost 70.
Get out of here!
Old,
Go on, get.
Old ass man.
And once you get to 70, you're almost 75.
Yeah,
Once you get to
yeah.
75, you're almost 80.
I can say once you're in their 70s, like
Let's see what the chat room says. Chat room, who's got the stinkier breath?
Oh, put an online poll up.
Yeah,
We'll
online
get our
poll.
web hits.
We need web hits. We're gonna put a dog. Okay, here's what we're doing.
Tell Norm to get his web hits.
Norm, put it on the poll. We're doing Dog the Bounty Hunter versus Mel Gibson, worst smelling breath, but then link it to a bikini page, and that's how we get our web numbers on.
I've only had a couple people ask for our web hits, and every single time they do, I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't even think you know what you're
How many
looking
impressions
at.
do you have?
Like, you don't
Well,
even-
if you're talking about yesterday, not too good, but today we put a Dog the Bounty Hunter and Mel Gibson breath poll on, and our impressions have never been better.
Also, I could just show you anything I want.
Yeah.
It's easy. Like, there's no way.
It's not even real. It
No
might
way
as
of you
How you gonna
verify.
check that? Yeah.
You know what? You know, impressions might as well be a fairy garden. It's the same thing.
I can get a screenshot of Google Analytics and have Tony Photoshop any number I want in
Right.
there, and you'd have no way of knowing. And what does that even mean? Like, I think you're just asking because that's what they've always asked for, and you don't even know. It's not like you're gonna look at it and be like, not enough, or that's way more, or what are you gonna?
I think
everybody
Steph
just
nailed
looks at
it. She's talking about amount of money made, and Mel Gibson trumps heavily on Dog, even though Dog is a bit of a joke, household name, and also said some horrible things, and then said he wanted to be buried with black people. The cool thing about Mel is that he at one point he was that like unconceivable rich, and he would have better dental care, which means he would probably have less halitosis than Dog the Bounty Hunter.
But the thing is,
Did I call him Dog the Bounty Blunter?
they both, even Mel Gibson's way more rich than Dog the Bounty Hunter, but both. As
I am going to say, looking at more recent pictures of Mel Gibson, it does look like he has gotten his teeth taken care of. They are whiter than they were before, for sure. He's at least got some teeth whitening going on.
I'll put it to you this way. At one time, old Tom Van painted his grass.
Well,
You know
he
what I
could
mean?
have painted his teeth
Because-
white. I don't know, but they look a lot better than they used to.
Okay, so
And how much do you think Mel Gibson is worth versus how much Dog the Bounty
I mean,
Hunter
Mel
is worth?
Gibson worth $500 million. $200 million?
I'm Dog the okay. So Mel Gibson's worth, God, yeah, I with the production.
$250 million?
I'm going. Yeah, God, that's a pretty.
And then
big
you
guess.
gotta.
I'll go Mel
Well, you gotta
Gibson.
deduct $1 million for the Beaver movie.
Yeah. I'm
Oh,
going.
yeah, I forgot about
Mel
that.
Gibson worth 280, and Dog the Bounty Hunter worth 38.
Wow. Dog the Bounty Hunter only worth $6 million.
Oh, baby Lisa took it all.
Mel Gibson, $425 million.
I told you $500 million.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
guy's because he hit that sweet spot. He got that '90s Lethal Weapon money. My
And
God.
that Passion of the
Well,
Christ money. Don't
yeah.
sleep on
Oh,
that.
yeah. You're right. You're right.
he
That's
was
the
producing.
biggie. That's
yeah.
the biggie.
Once he starts making movies, that's where you make all that money.
I'll never forget when that movie first came out. They
I saw that in theaters with my
I did
Catholic
too.
friend, who then ended up becoming a nun.
Yeah, I went to see it in the theaters too. There's the really that off-putting scene where there's like a devil baby.
Yeah.
Remember
yeah.
the devil baby?
I didn't see that movie.
Oh,
Oh.
man, it's
You
horrible.
should show Tommy and Max.
Yeah, it's great for the kids.
They go to church school.
That's good.
I have no interest in that.
Put it on after Dora.
That's like
fine.
What do you want? A really graphic, depressing Harry Potter.
Oh, it's
but
real
you know,
bad.
it's,
Yeah,
I don't want to see. Who wants to see that?
Oh my God.
House
Slytherin.
Plus, like, well, no way Jesus looked like this. Like,
No.
do you know?
Do you know where you were geography-wise
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the world?
Yeah. Jesus looked like the head super trooper. What's his name?
Big Trooper? I don't know.
No. With the Jay Chandrasekhar.
Oh, yeah. He probably would have looked
He's
like
brown.
Jay Chandrasekhar. We got to get out of here, my man.
Yep.
TomandDan.com for all things Tom and Dan. Thanks to all of our guests, Mikey Spandex. Who else do we have? Ray Trendley?
Yeah, Ray
we have-
Trendley.
Or as we're calling him now, what are we calling him?
RT Beefs.
RT Beefs.
Or, Beefcake Ray.
Beefcake Ray. Anything else?
That's it.
Bye.